IMG College. Your next time cue will come at 4 minutes until airtime. Mark, 4 minute stations, 4 minutes until this broadcast from IMG College. Your next time cue will come at 3 minutes until airtime. Mark, 3 minute stations, 3 minutes until this broadcast from IMG College. Your next time cue will come at 2 minutes until airtime. Mark, 2 minute stations, 2 minutes until this broadcast from IMG College. Your next time cue will come at 60 seconds until airtime.
One minute stations, 1 minute till airtime. Your next time cue will be with 30 seconds till airtime. Studios, when you hear BANG! That means start your archive recording. Stations, you're coming up on 30 seconds till airtime. On my mark, 30 seconds till airtime. BANG! And there it is. So studios, please start your archive recording. Mark, 30 seconds stations. Your next and final time cue will be with 15 seconds till airtime. Coming up on 15 seconds till airtime. Mark, 15 seconds stations. Have fun.
The following is a presentation of IMG, America's home for college sports. This is College Sports Now.
Friday edition of College Sports Now, and we are just one day away from semifinal Saturday here at the Final Four. On today's show, we feast on the hoops talk. We're live from San Antonio. We got the Siena head coach, Jimmy Patsos, with us for the full 2 hours, plus our good friend Dave Odom, who's out of the Witness Protection Program after a 2-week hiatus, returns to the airwaves. He will drop by in hour number 1 to give us his thoughts on tomorrow's games. And oh yeah, friend of the program, Jerry Palm, CBS Sports, drops by as well. It's not just Good Friday, it's a great Friday, because we're live in San Antonio talking Final Four here on College Sports Now.
2-1-0, and how about this? Loyola Chicago is off to the Final Four.
Chased down by Robinson to the right corner, trying to fend him off. He's going to dribble it out. Michigan truly is the champion of the West. They beat Florida State to get to the Final Four.
That is it. For the second time in 3 years, the national champions in 2016 will go to the Final Four in 2018.
Kansas just has to get it in. They lob it ahead to Vic, and KU's going to win this game. Rock, chalk it up. The Jayhawks march on to the Final Four.
The best in college basketball.
The best in college sports.
This is College Sports Now.
Your inside look at the biggest games from around the nation.
College Sports Now is presented by ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Here's your host, Stephen Hartzell.
It is the Friday before the Final Four. We are live here in downtown San Antonio. We're at the Drury Plaza Hotel Riverwalk. We're always on TuneIn, TuneIn.com, the TuneIn mobile app. We're also on Facebook today at facebook.com/collegesportsnow. There is a video component. Save the jokes, Faces for Radio. We know all about that. We got Jimmy Patsos with us, the head coach of Siena, for the full 2 hours today, Coach.
Yes, I work for you.
Well, you've said that, which is a dangerous proposition because we like to have fun here on the show. We're going to have fun on today's program. Dave Odom is here. We've made eye contact. He's out of witness protection. He is back. He makes his return to College Sports Now. You guys hooked up before the show, and I got a coaching clinic that I wasn't even expecting to get. I mean, you guys are just, running through some stuff, talking X's and O's. I feel smarter. I feel smarter already, Coach.
This guy was a great coach at Wake Forest and clearly at South Carolina, but we went against each other. I was Gary Williams' assistant, Joel Coliseum, and he had to play for Duncan. We have a really good big man at Siena coming back, Prince Aduro, and I want to get him the ball. He just showed me 2 or 3 options. Dave Odom was an outstanding coach, great recruiter, but really good guy in terms of what he did at Wake, a small school, to get them to the national level.
Yep.
And we were trying to fight back at Maryland. Gary Williams, we were rebuilding the program. And there's these 2 hovering, Duke and Carolina, over you, which leads us to, whether it's the Loyola team or whether it's a Houston team in Kelvin that did it. The Blue Bloods are usually there, but this year, Loyola has clearly made it an outstanding tournament.
It's a Final Four that's got a little bit of something for everybody, right? You've got 2 national champion coaches on one side of the bracket with Kansas and Villanova. Been there, done that. They have the rings. And then you've got the other side, as you mentioned, Loyola Chicago, Michigan. Beilein's never won. He's been there. He's knocked on the door. And, oh, yeah, by the way, here's this 11th-seeded Cinderella who's just hanging around, and there's no reason why they can't win tomorrow night. We were talking about it before the show.
No, this isn't some joke team. I mean, I've known Porter Moser. I mean, he's just a great guy, Porter, and he's worked his way up, and he had a rough stint at Illinois State, as we all do in coaching, and now he's back. He's learned. This is a real team. I mean, Andre Jackson at 6'6", sixth man, senior, that leadership. I'm going to talk about seniors today or veteran players that can really help you. There is a lot to be said about staying in school. And Loyola's real. This isn't some – I know they won by 1 here. They've been playing great all year, and they're a real threat. Now, Michigan, Beilein, who came from Canisius, John Beilein, who's never been an assistant coach, head coach at every level of his career, this could be his time because they survived against Houston. Sometimes you have to survive a game.
Sure.
And now the 2 Blue Bloods, I have Villanova. We'll go into all that later, but I just think Loyola's a much better team than the average person thinks. They think it's some lucky Cinderella. They are a very, very good team.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. That's the undercard tomorrow night, and then, of course, you got Villanova, Kansas, the nightcap. And we'll have our national championship game ready by the end of Saturday night. So we got a lot to get to. Dave Odom is here. We'll get to him in a little bit. We got Jerry Palm dropping by from CBS Sports. A lot of hoops talk. For those of our listeners who may not be familiar with the Siena program, Coach, You mentioned as a longtime assistant under Gary Williams at Maryland, one of my favorite teams, that 02 Terps team that won a national championship.
Yes, in Atlanta, your hometown.
That's true. But one of my favorite, maybe unsung college basketball, I don't want to say teams. I mean, that was a special roster, certainly. But, I mean, you were a part of a guy with Juan Dixon who, I don't want to say put the team on his back, but there wasn't anything that guy couldn't do down the stretch for you guys. That was a phenomenal Maryland team.
It was. I mean, Lonnie Baxter was the only regional MVP 2 years in a row, him and Christian Leitner. That's it in the history of college basketball. But Juan was the one that made it go, and Blake was really good. But Gary could just coach. Gary Williams brought an intensity and a competitiveness, and it was driven a lot by trying to catch Carolina and Duke. And Coach Odom will tell you that, but that can take a lot out of you. What a special team. Siena's a storied program. Siena's a great program with Mike Dean coach there, Paul Hewitt coach there, Fran McCaffrey from Iowa, who I was with last night. They're going to be great. They have great fan base. And when we won the title, the first team we played was Siena, playing down in D.C., and there was my scout, and I came out, and I couldn't believe how many fans they had and how many the following they had and how well they played. Rob Lanier was the coach. In other words, it's a really storied, like, mid-major program. So I'm really lucky to coach there. I was at Loyola, but 14 years at Maryland with Gary Williams and building the program up. The highlight was the national championship, 2 Final Fours, and we're going to talk about how interesting it is to be at a Final Four for these teams. And that's where that could be Loyola's albatross, is looking around and taking in too much.
Yeah, we keep saying that, and yet, regional final in Atlanta, what's it going to be like? I mean, yeah, they had to play Nevada, who is a fellow mid-major of sorts. They survive in advance, then they just wax Kansas State in that Elite Eight game, winning by 18 points, but led by 21 at one point. You've been to a Final Four. You've won a national championship as an assistant on that Gary Williams staff. Like, sometimes if a team's got that look, because you were a part of that. And I don't know if there's a team that jumps out of the 4 that's still here, because like we said, you got some 1 seeds, you got a Michigan team that's hot. They've won, 13 in a row?
Yes.
And then you've got a team that may or may not be on a mission from God in Loyola, Chicago.
Yeah, and Kansas, who hasn't been. None of these kids from Kansas, I don't believe, have been to the Final Four.
A lot of Elite Eights, but yeah.
Yes, a lot of Elite Eights, but there's a different type of pressure in the Final Four, because the Elite Eight is usually not in a bigger building. Most parts it's in at least a normal-sized building. But just the attention for the next 2 days, people are calling you, ticket requests, you're trying to get all this stuff in, your normal routine. Normally on the road, you get a break from all this. That's what's great about going on the road. Now, all your families are here, cousins, uncles, all that. Your student body's going to be here. And just, you can feel the buzz in the air. We did a good job in Minneapolis, and we were up early on Duke in that year in 2001. But they kind of started coming back, and when the wave came in the big building, I'm not sure, we just couldn't stem the tide. Now, Battier and Boozer were there, which made it really difficult.
Those guys are pretty good.
And Jason Williams. But the next year in Atlanta, we stayed out by the airport. We stole a little page out of John Thompson's book. The Hoyas, he used to get them out of there. We were a little further out. We'd been through it before. We played Kansas and beat them. And then we won the national title beating Indiana in one of the lowest scoring games ever. See, in other words, you might have to play defense. In other words, even if you're a fast-paced team, you might have to adjust just to get through these games. And I thought, in other words, Kansas State did a great job to get as far as they did by adjusting to each game. But Loyola, I'm just telling you, the way they share the ball, they have a lot of scorers. Custer's great. They're deeper than you think. And I talked to Musselman last night. I saw Musselman yesterday.
You guys have the same the
little raspy.
The same voice. Yeah.
He's a great coach, Musselman. I really like Eric. I knew his dad, who was a great coach at Minnesota, the University of Minnesota. Everybody does it different. He just had 7 guys. They only had 9 guys on the roster. So they were like a really little tight unit rolling through each round. There's lots of ways to do it. Clearly, Loyola's captured the nation's attention, and I think it's great for basketball.
On paper, and again, this could all go out the window once they throw this thing up on Saturday night, but on paper, you've got 2 very different styles of games, right? One semifinal, Loyola and Michigan, is expected to be a little bit more lower scoring, and then the nightcap, Kansas-Villanova, the over-under on that thing's like 155. It's going to be a track meet. It could be.
You can't stop Bill Self from running. His big men run. They just push the ball. They have great. You play zone. They have great lob plays. And then Jay's team with, and we'll talk about Pascal, who I think. See, we know the regular guys. Who's going to be the other guy?
Right.
Pascal. We were at Siena. He blocked a shot to beat us with 1 second left. We had a layup. Came from nowhere. He was at Fordham. And we'll talk later about transfers, etc. He leaves with Tom Pecora because he wants to go experience winning, a national title, playing in the NCAA. He's taken a lower role on a more important mission, which is to get to the national title. I think Andre Jackson there. Kansas is not that deep. But Michigan, one of their best players is a Division III guy from Williams College who leaves.
Right.
And it's really good for all the younger kids to see that there's lots of ways to get to the big dance. And I'm not saying we should have a lot of transfers because I don't want them leaving our league, but this is all for when Coach Odom gets on here. But there's a lot of interesting players that are going to have a lot to do with who wins. And it's not just the stars. It's not just Graham. It's not just Brunson.
Well, the transfer epidemic is real. I mean, last year, I don't have the number in front of me. I think it was around 800 Division I players. I mean, that's obscene. I mean, that's a
It's going to happen,
thing.
you know. I wish someone would. If you want to transfer to Siena, I'd be happy to take anybody's calls, by the way. No, and we have a great arena and a great school and a great city, but they want to go to the trend is going towards if I don't get what I want right away, and I'm not so against that. I don't want to get on a soapbox about that. But the kids want to play in the NCAA. The University of Albany, Will Brown does a really good job. They just said they're starting backcourt transfer because they can graduate. They're tired of watching for 3 weeks. They haven't been able to go to the tournament. And let's face it, the tournament is really, I mean, it's one of the most popular sports in the world, and these kids want to be part of it.
Yeah. The buzz is real, right? I mean,
For
walking
sure.
around San Antonio, it's a great
Great
city.
city.
Riverwalk, food, beverages, sights, sounds, all that stuff is real. But, I mean, here we are. It's the day before the games, right? Because this week has just been dragging. I don't know about you.
I got Wednesday morning. I was here, so
maybe,
yes.
maybe you got your fix watching, Utah and Penn State last night. By the way, shout out to the Nittany Lions, NIT champs. But
yeah, Pat Chambers, good guy. But they beat my Under Armour team, Utah. But that was a good game.
you got to rep the click-clack, right?
It's both. It's both. But, Pat Chambers has done a great job there. Can he get over the hump in Penn State? Can he make them, they care so much about football and all that? They had a great crowd at the NIT last night.
They did. Here's the thing about San Antonio and being here. I mean, you literally can't walk around like you will physically bump into a D1 head coach if you're walking the streets.
It's
incredible.
I have a lot of topics I like to talk about. The Final Four NCAA, if I was them, San Antonio, New Orleans, Indy. Because New Orleans and San Antonio, especially, I like walking around and seeing everybody.
Sure.
Like, I haven't been here in a while. That river walk, you can't miss it. You're down there, you're at Bohannon's, you're at
To-go beverages, too, by the way. I don't know if you've experienced that.
I have not. I'm working out too much
well,
for that
that's
these
a real
days.
thing, though. I mean, you ask for a to-go cup, not a problem, sir. We can make that happen. Would you like a straw? No.
How about
okay.
that?
Yeah,
because it's
a real
the river
thing.
walk and
Yeah.
hotels. I ran into Jim Nance last night. I was like gaga, Jim Nance.
He's a bigger guy than you might think.
Yes, he is.
Nance is, he's got the great pipes, obviously, and he's like, hey, I'm ready to get on that plane to go to Augusta. But
that's what I asked him about, actually.
Is that right?
Well, we were talking about golf. I know some people that know him through the golfing thing. Couldn't have been. Jim Nance took 5 or 6 minutes, which is I don't deserve 50 seconds with that guy. We talked about the Shell Open in Augusta leading up, just because it started yesterday, and then of course we talked basketball, and he knows who I am a little bit. It's great. San Antonio, the Riverwalk, the situation, the hotels. I just think it's great when it's one big basketball community.
Sure.
Some of these places are too far out, and that was always the thing.
That was the knock on Phoenix last year.
Yeah, too far away, and Dallas is a tough one. Hey, I was a young assistant, and I met Jerry Tarkanian and Billy Tubbs, and they said, why don't you just sit down for lunch instead of asking us questions? This was in New Orleans.
It's incredible.
In other words, that's how you meet people,
Right.
and they're like, here, young man, I'll tell you you should really press. And then I said, I work for Gary Williams, and they said, oh, he presses too much. It was really... In other words, you never forget those type of things that you learn, and you don't see that when everything's spread out.
Yeah, it's very cool. And interesting, it's 2018. It's the era of social media and Twitter and all that stuff. By the way, we are on Facebook. So
And I'm going computer next year. It's the last folder I'm ever having.
Coach Patsos brought his own press clippings. They're not of Siena, but he literally cut newspaper articles out and brought them with us. But we're going to be doing a show on the other side of this timeout with 2 head coaches as Dave Odom makes his triumphant return to college
With
sports
breakfast.
now. With breakfast, by the way. Classy move. 2 coaches, 0 social media accounts between these 2. Not on Twitter. If you want to come at them, you got to do it here
Michelle's
on the show.
on Twitter, though, and she's active, and my assistants are. But my wife is very good on Twitter.
Well, you got to defer to the wives. I get all that, but in 2018, we're bringing it old school here on College Sports Now. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We got Coach Patsos. We got Coach Odom. We're talking hoops here on College Sports Now, and of course on Facebook Live, facebook.com/College Sports Now. We're back after this.
At Champion, we've been outfitting athletes on and off the field since 1919 because we know inside every one of us is the heart of a champion whose hard work and heart inspires others to do the same, to be a champion. Those are the people that dare to dream, dare to reach for greatness, dare to defy the odds. So dare to be a champion. And check out champion.com for authentic athletic wear that works as hard as you do.
Talent matters, and scouting the best players isn't easy. It takes weeks crisscrossing the country, countless hours watching game film, and analyzing thousands of players to find the best matches. But if you're hiring for your business, you don't need to do all that. You just need ZipRecruiter, our presenting sponsor and the smartest way to hire. They do all the legwork for you. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter scouts talent for you. Need a stat to back it up? 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And our listeners can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. That's ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire and the official job site of college sports fans everywhere.
Previously on Holding Court with me, Gino Auriemma. John Calipari.
I was 28, 29. I made us all come in shirt and tie. We had a shirt and a tie because we looked like high school kids, and I wanted to make sure we looked professional. They gave me a lease car. It was called a Celebrity. Yeah. And at the time, I thought, geez, I'm a celebrity. Until I saw the car. What is this?
Catch all the episodes by searching Holding Court with Gino Auriemma on iTunes and follow us on Twitter at Gino Podcast.
My mom texted me to say that I was mean to you during the Greatest Athlete segment.
Your mom's a knowledgeable person.
Well, she listens to the show. She said you were mean to Coach. You were bad during that segment. And when Coach
our ratings will go way up.
Was a regular contributor here to the show, but we are pleased to be joined now by Coach Dave Odom, back from his hiatus. You know, it's like your son wins a game in the tournament, and
no, don't start with that.
You know, like a 16's never beaten a 1 or something. And
you just come off of Hilton Head or wherever you were. I don't know where the heck you were.
I was in Charleston. I was getting raised for like 3 days. But all things can.
We referenced you a bunch of times.
I know you did. I know. I picked a good time to take a break. The opening weekend of the NCAA tournament. We got Coach Patsos. We got Coach Odom. We are live at CS Now Tweets on Twitter, Facebook. Streaming. You know, we're on the internet today. We're video component here. So you can say hey to all your adoring fans. Facebook.com/college sports. Now, Coach, it's good to see you, man. I mean, this is, Coach Patsos and I were talking. This is it. I mean, the buzz is real. I mean, we're a day away from some games. Finally, this week's been dragging by.
I don't know why y'all call me. You got the star here, man.
He's great. He's great. I'm not going to lie. We could have extended this program and filled 4 hours today.
Coach Odom and I have been on the recruiting tricks. We could do 4 hours like that.
So let me put this in context here. Obviously, everyone knows Coach was doing his thing at Wake Forest. He had some guy named Tim Duncan who was pretty good at basketball, who, by the way, is here in San Antonio, not physically here. We tried to make that happen, but it fell through. But, Coach, you were on those staffs with Maryland under Gary Williams. I mean, you guys, let's be real here. I mean, we locked horns during the ACC
back in the day.
I think you were there
every year. I think you were there every year. I was there 13 years. How many years were you there, 15?
I was there, 12. 3 as an assistant, 12 as a head coach, so 15 total.
15, yeah. I think I was there almost every one of your years until then you went to South Carolina. You midnight trained it to South Carolina for a night. Man.
Now, these were the Cole Fieldhouse days, though. I mean, this was back when Maryland basketball
That's real basketball, isn't it?
Well, back when they were in the ACC, too. I mean, let's be honest.
Everybody played everybody twice. We missed that, right, Coach?
Exactly.
It's got to be weird for you to see Maryland in the Big Ten, right?
You know, it's funny because I had left. In other words, I went to Loyola and then I went to Siena, but I still think they're in the ACC, and all of a sudden they're not.
I just I've said this on the program here several times. If you could go back in time, I think that's one of the things that Maryland as a university would reconsider. Maybe the ACC as a conference would reconsider. Not the Big Ten. I'm sure they're glad to have Maryland, but the other two, I don't know. I don't know.
It's just a different feel for, playing Carolina, playing Duke twice.
Sure.
Because I was there there was only 9 teams. I was there when Florida State came in.
Yeah,
so were you?
Me too. Yeah, oh yeah.
Remember they walked in and we said, "Oh, there's 2 wins," and out comes Sam Cassell, Charlie Ward, Bobby Sura, and I said, "I think we're in trouble."
Yeah.
Remember that year?
Absolutely.
And then Coach
Rodney
Hamp's coming off of
Dobar.
Elite Eight.
Rodney Dobar, left-handed. He could, play.
And they went to the Elite Eight.
Coach, you've had a busy last 2 weeks. You've announced a new Maui field for 2019. And, oh, by the way, you're on the NIT committee. You guys had some work to do up in Madison Square Garden.
We did.
But
that was an interesting 10 days for me. And if you just concentrate on the NIT things, first time I'd been through that, and I walked in, and you guys here, you'll know, I walked into the room, and they said, look, find a seat that has your name, your placard on it, Dave Odom. Easy to do. I could prop right in on it. And I walked right in, and what was there? A computer.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
They start pulling up the sheets. Good.
Yeah, I know, all that kind of stuff. I said, well, you got the wrong guy. They said, no, we know you don't do computers, but we have, and the guy's name was Matt, and he stayed right over my right shoulder, and he helped me through all of that.
Well,
tell the NIT, and I know it's really turned because Penn State went. Coach, what do you think about that? Like, should it get bigger, or should they take smaller schools even there? In other words, how were you happy with the NIT, how it turned out?
Yeah, it was an interesting process. You take Syracuse.
Right.
Syracuse was like the last team in. Whenever I walked into that room, they gave us a pod of teams, and they said, these are the teams that you begin, seeding with. And you're going to lose some of these. We just don't know which ones.
Right.
I'll bet you that Syracuse bounced back and forth between the NIT and the NCAA 4 times, twice with each.
How about same with Notre Dame? Was Notre Dame like that too?
Notre Dame was like that as well. So it was an amazing, you think, well, you got Notre Dame, and now they make the call from New York and say, no, we got New York. And it was crazy. And we didn't really know until, almost.
And then you have to send them places. In other words, in the NCAA, they already know where they're going. You now have to pick where you send them, right?
The games?
In other words,
you got to seed them, you got to locate them, and you got to pair them. I mean, it was an interesting process.
And that's growing, right? You guys are a new committee, which I think is good for the NIT.
It is, and it doesn't just fall into place. You got to strategically do that. And let's be honest. I mean, you got to try to save money if you can. You don't want to You don't want to be shipping. Let's just say Siena all the way to Fresno, California to play the first round if you can avoid that.
Interesting.
And so,
and I did that trip when we beat Tyler Johnson when we won the CBI, and it's not an easy trip, but
no. That's an interesting thing, the CBI now.
2 out of 3.
Yeah, what they're trying to do now, they're trying to look at that, and they're not trying to put the CBI and the CIT out of business, but they're looking at maybe expanding the NIT in terms of number of teams. And if they do that, that might affect
them out.
Yeah.
Let's face it, the NIT is a better name, and if they take 64, that's what we want.
But if you get the invite and you're a coach at a mid-major program, you're taking it, right? I mean, you want your season to continue for these kids'
we took 2 and turned down 1. I had 4 seniors. We lost to Iona on a last-second shot last year. Iona, I want to talk about the smaller teams and which kind of draw you get. And I thought UMBC, as good as they played and as great as they were, that was a great draw.
Sure.
This guy Lyles, I've been watching him since a kid. They're going to score. They're going to score 80 points. So you better find a way to score 70 or 80 points.
Yeah, they're going to go to 80 on you.
And in other words, Virginia, I had watched them play Syracuse in the Dome. I went to the game and very pacey. Never saw them really down much. But these draws you get, you want to play. But when I had a senior team, and they said no, that's okay because they didn't want to play anymore. But that was for the CBI. This is the NIT at our level. You got to remember one thing, Steve. At our level, the NIT is a huge tournament for the mid-majors.
Sure. It is.
That's a real honor.
Sure.
And you get to Madison Square Garden, and I think I said this before. I went on my 10-day getaway deal here. Our team was lucky enough twice at South Carolina, one at Wake Forest to win it. We won the NIT 3 times. And every time we were very close to getting in the NCAA, didn't quite make it. And then you're faced with, you go to your team and you say, hey, guys, we're going to the NIT. And their faces, they look at you and they stare at you like, really?
Right.
That's when
I
you're
said,
close.
whoa.
Right.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Any tournament that's worth playing in is worth winning. If you don't want to try to win it, you tell me now and I'll turn it down. And every time they would flip and, you got to get by the first game. And I think, if I ever did anything that was worthwhile in coaching, that was one of the things, was to be able to get our team turned around from the disappointment of not getting in the NCAA to
win 5 games.
To win one game, Jimmy. You got to win one game. You win one game, it flips all of a sudden. Now you're in the tournament. Now you're excited about it. I don't care if they send you to UCLA or you play in Columbia, South Carolina. Makes no difference. You're in your tournament now, and you're playing against a really good team. And now you just.
I remember going to your South Carolina.
Here, yeah.
You had a guard from D.C. at Dunbar Kids.
Trey Kelly.
He's
one of my favorite players of all time.
Told Gary
my favorite.
Told Gary we should have recruited him. He didn't listen to me.
You should have. He was so good, and he's the most wonderful kid ever.
I watched you win at the NIT. Yeah. I went to the semifinals, but
you're amazed at this conversation.
No, I told our producer.
What are you doing here? By the way?
Our producer. That's my point. I told Waldman before the show. I was like, when we get these 2 coaches on at the same time, I'm just going to let them go. I'm going to let them loose.
He's right on that. Trey Kelly, one of my favorite. It's interesting. My 2 favorite guards of all time, from a head coaching standpoint, both came out of D.C.
Sure,
Randolph Childress, of course, and Trey Kelly.
It's a hoops mecca.
Showed that last year. The performance. We won 3 games, go to lose in overtime to Iona. Great situation. Okay, we come up short, but I had been showing them Randolph Childress going into the tournament. I said, we can do this. We were 4 seed. One of the single greatest weekend performances ever.
No doubt, 95. We talked about that a lot here on the show.
Still scored more points than I thought. Maybe the Bagley kid at Duke might rival the number this year. 3 games, 107 points. That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's
in the ACC, but they didn't. He didn't make it.
Coach, take our listeners behind the curtain. We had Ron Hunter on the show yesterday. We had your son Ryan on the show yesterday. NABC this is their Super Bowl, right? They're in town. They got the convention.
Yep, they got it going.
What are some points of emphasis that's happening this year? I mean, and there's a bunch of breakout sessions. There's all kinds of things going on, but I think some of our listeners would like to know what's being emphasized behind the scenes with the NABC this year.
I mean, it's no secret that the NABC and college basketball coaches in general and the game they're struggling right now. There's a
because of the perception of what's happening?
I don't want to call it a dark side, but
sure.
there are things that are allegedly happened that have given the profession a little bit of a black eye. And so when you ask me what's going on with the coaching profession, one of the things is, dealing with the ethics. I assume there's a head coaches meeting sometime today, is there not? Or did they have it yesterday?
You know what? I didn't get it yesterday because I was doing. There's more Division 2 and 3 and younger seminars going on than there are for us. I haven't heard anything yet.
There's usually one on Friday or Saturday morning. I don't know.
Can you speak to that though, Coach? I mean, that is happening.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's
in
interesting, and I would never speak for Dave Odom or Gary Williams, but I know that they were ethically, as a young guy, you looked at programs, and there were those that weren't playing by the rules and those that might have been on the fringe. And I'm not just saying this because he's here. We were over here. Yeah. We were like non-factors in this world of, look, I'd made many recruiting trips, and I bet Coach Odom's made twice as many as I have, where you walked in and within 10 minutes you said, we're not getting this kid. Is there a diner around here in Mississippi or Chicago or wherever? And I'm just using those as examples where we weren't getting the kids, and I don't know what to do because I don't like it. I hope it cleans up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a different playing field right now. I saw a coach yesterday. I won't mention who it was. A really good friend of mine, and he was a Southern guy. I mean, more South than North Carolina. Let's put it that way. And I saw him. He was with his wife. He is now retired. He was an assistant coach and a head coach for a little while, but he was known more as an assistant. And when you walked into the gym and you saw him there, it was like a covey of quail that scattered. Everybody left because you ain't getting that kid. And I got to be really good friends with him. And I would say to him, Coach X, I ain't going to say his name, I say, look, if if I have no chance, tell me now because I need to get on out of here.
Right.
The best thing that any recruit or their parents or their high school coach to tell you is yes, and tell you as quick as they can. The next best thing they can tell you is no, and tell me as quick as you can so I can move on. Because we don't have a love affair.
But these kids like the attention now, right? I mean, can you speak to that in terms of, like, are the kids that you're recruiting in 2018 different than what you were recruiting 20 years ago? Because this thing is, I mean, it's it poisons people sometimes.
And the visits have changed. The visits used to just be a little bit of, go see the kids, school, meet the team. Most important thing is to meet the team and talk to the players away from the coaches, in my opinion. Now they want, this is a nice hotel, great steak restaurant. Boy, I'll take a few more of these visits, but I'm still going to come back to you. But then you don't know.
Right.
It's like Coach Odom says, I've done a bad job the last couple of years of hanging around recruits. Probably couldn't get them. Now I don't get them, and then things,
Right.
But that's why you have to develop players. At a place like Siena, you have to cycle. We had a good 4-year cycle. Now we're on the start of a new 4-year cycle. We were the 8th youngest team in the country last year in a lot of close games. I can't wait to coach all the young kids for next year. But recruiting has gotten different, A, because of Twitter, and B, the kids want a little more attention. Before you could talk to the parents and even the AAU coaches. I always liked high school coaches. Because they knew the kid every day.
Yeah.
And if they said, this is a good fit for you at Maryland, you should go there. Or this is a good place at Loyola, you should go there. Now, it's gotten harder.
Yeah.
It has, because the high school coach, he kind of vanishes in the summertime.
Sure.
And these other people, surround them, and they start feeding them and flying them all over the country and letting them play, and there's no practice, and they get up in the morning and they throw them out there and they play 3 games. They come back, they get on their phones, and it's a different environment now. But as Jimmy was just saying, one of the things coaches at most all levels, really, but certainly at his, you can recruit a kid. Let's say he's in Albany, New York, and let's say he's recruiting a kid out of Yonkers or someplace like that, and he walks in and there's one of these coaches there that represents a school at a higher level, and he knows that and most likely I'm not going to beat them. Well, you can still stay in there, and really what you're doing is you're recruiting him for 2 years later when the kid goes to someplace like
can't see the floor.
Yeah, he's not going to. Yeah,
that's what I did at Loyola.
Yeah, he's got to have. Yeah,
we had a Notre Dame, Providence, Maryland, Marshall,
and then you get him on the rebound.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's
interesting.
That's smart to do that. You spend a little bit of time doing that.
I want to keep it moving. We got to pay the bills. We'll take a quick commercial break. 5 pressing questions, Coach. You know all about this. We'll put Coach Patsos on the hot seat as well.
Yeah,
we'll keep it moving.
I'm on the hot seat.
We'll talk tournament. 5 pressing questions here on College Sports Now. Stick around.
So we got a tournament coming, huh?
That's what they say.
What if a point guard hit 80% beyond the arc, or a QB completed 80% of his passes? Well, now when you're hiring, you can play at that level, because 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. That makes our presenting sponsor, ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. A single click distributes your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards. But they don't stop there. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter scouts talent for you. And you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. That's ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire and the official job site of college sports fans everywhere.
State Farm agents get what's important to you, even in a deafening crowd.
Boy, that's what I'm talking about! So my State Farm insurance helps protect you from any common accidents? Yes! Don't worry! I know what my man CP3 needs! What are you doing?
Does this guy...
No! This guy does not count as a common accident! Woo! That's the way, baby!
Can we...
Switch seats? Of course!
Get an agent that gets you. State Farm, here to help life go right.
Last time on College Sports Now.
You've got some very, very light skin. Be careful.
Thank you, Coach.
Sun can be absolutely torture this early in the spring, so be careful.
Thank you, Coach, for calling me out for being the pasty white guy that I am. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Listen to College Sports Now, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, exclusively on TuneIn, and follow along on Twitter at CSNowTweets. Listen to college basketball, now free, all season long on TuneIn.
We've got a handful of knowledge. It's five pressing questions.
All right, we are streaming on Facebook. There is a video component to this. If you want to see Coach Patsos and Coach Odom live and in the flesh, Facebook.com/College Sports Now. I'm here as well, but I'm taking a back seat to the discussion, which is totally fine because these guys are basketball minds, and we're going to let them loose here on 5 pressing questions. Coach, hey, take your time. How was breakfast, by the way? Was that good? That looked pretty good.
You eat on the run. You get used to that.
I know you do. Coach P's cleaning up after
Hey, man, I was in the restaurant business. It's like my OC. I got this thing where I always want things
OCD
tight.
about it. You like to clean it up. Here's what we got. 5 pressing questions. I'm going to let you guys loose on this. I'm just going to set up the topics and let y'all run. All right? So topic number 1. Mark Emmert, NCAA president. He took the podium yesterday. He's talking about, essentially it's the state of the union in college sports. The big issue was whether or not to keep the current athletic model to make players employees or to have an employee-employer relationship. That's his words. That's not mine. But what do you make of this amateur athletics predicament that we are in 2018?
If they do that, it will put Siena and others like them out of business. Now, I don't know if he agrees with that.
Because they can't afford to hang with these other guys?
And there's a big number of Power 5-like conferences.
Sure.
Teams in that couldn't afford it either. It's just too expensive, and I think ethically not necessary. It's not necessary. These college athletes are treated very, very well. They just are. But when you look at the implications from a Title IX standpoint, and I think just ethic, these people are treated very, very well. You got kids, and they are what? Tell me.
What, my players?
No.
Me and my wife don't. Michelle and I don't have any kids.
Okay,
we got a dog.
Okay, I did. I had 2, and I paid every dollar for those 2 kids to go to college. Every one. One of my sons was Ryan. It was over $18,000 a year back in the mid-'90s. It was $18,000. Yeah, I was paying for that, and for Lane it was actually a little bit more, $22,000. So if you tell me that those 2 kids are going to get full scholarships, they're going to have 3 meals a day, they're going to get their education paid for, the books and all that kind of tuition, all that kind of stuff, I'd say that's fine. That's pay enough.
Right.
That's good enough. And now you're talking, you got to do all of those kind of things, plus you got to give them full cost of living.
Sure. Our whole package is worth $65,000. I had 4 kids graduate last year. All 4 graduated. Sweden, 2 in Hungary, 1 in Germany, all playing.
Wow.
They don't come near the $65,000.
Interesting.
Because the housing's 8 months. They get $3,000 or $2,000 a month. You know what they all complain about? Coach, we missed the no pizza and stuff on the bus after.
Right.
But shoes.
Right.
The stipends.
Yeah.
But they're not even coming close. Now, they may if they play well. So, therefore, what we're giving them, including summer school, is great. I think that, and I like the cost of attendance. They get about $1,200 September 1 and January 1. Not every school does it. We do at Siena. Mm-hmm. The biggies do it. So they're also getting $1,200.
Is it $1,200 a semester?
$1,200 a semester.
Yeah, just that's $2,400. They are getting paid.
Right.
They are getting paid.
Interesting.
And it's just, to keep saying that is, I really think, and I don't know how you feel about this, Jimmy, but I really feel that people that suggest that sometimes are just trying to say things like that to spur conversation. They don't really believe it.
They can't. Well, they can't for the masses because now Beasley, he left Syracuse yesterday. Is that right?
Yep.
I guess the G League of Jay Wright, who we love, Villanova, has said, don't even come to school or go 2 years, or the baseball model 3 years. I know we're leaning towards that. I like the baseball model. My brother Chris is here. He's in the baseball business. He's Strasburg, Harper, Chris Ionetti. He's had a lot of pros. He's a Cape League guy, Wood Bat League, etc. Maybe 3 years isn't. What I like about 3 years is that they're going to get close to getting their degree.
Yeah.
Or don't come at all.
I like that. I like that. I mean, if they leave after 2 years, and of course 3 would be great, now you got a chance to kind of piecemeal the degree together. Here's what I don't like, and I know we got 5 questions to go.
Sure.
Probably won't get there. But here's what I don't like. I think the one-and-done deal does nothing but cheat the universities. The universities are in business to educate and to serve these kids and help them, find employment and security beyond graduation. Graduation being the optimum. And what happens when you bring a player in and he stays with you through a portion of that first year, let's say 6 months or something like that, he's nothing more than a rent-a-cop or a rent-a-player, if you will. I mean, and then they're out of there. And what happens, I think, is it cheats the university of the thing that they're charged with the responsibility of doing, and that's educating and graduating his kids. The other thing it does, and see if you agree with this, I think it cheats the fans of the different universities. I know at Wake Forest, when I was there in South Carolina, one of the real great things to be part of was the relationship between your program, i.e. the players, and your fans.
Yeah.
I mean, they mesh together.
That's why I like 2 years. I know.
Yeah, now they get to know them.
Because now I know Steve, and now I'm the basketball player, and Steve's in the communications department. But now because they're gone after now in the spring. Maybe I'm having I'm out. We're at a party or whatever. Now I get to know you. Now we come back to my sophomore year. You're down the hall. You're my dorm mate. Now at least I've really engaged in a relationship with you. Oh, maybe I'll try broadcasting. Steve's showed me some stuff that I could.
Yeah.
At least there's a relationship, and then there's also, let's face it, you're up to 48 to 60 credits.
Sure.
It could be 2 years.
Sure.
Now when you want to come back, and I think Coach Odom's on a point. So you get drafted by the Clippers, or if that's what you want. Now you can go to a JUCO. In other words, you can go to a community college and get some more credits. But the education thing's in your mind now because you've been there 2 years.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Well, as a fan, it'd be nice to be able to name
We'd like to have
7 or 8
too.
players in college basketball in November of 2018. Because right now, you could walk out on the street and be like, hey, who's coming back to school next year? I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who these guys are.
That's true.
That's what's nice about Graham and Joel Berry, and then the Loyola story.
Sure.
Michigan's kids. And
let's keep it moving
Villanova.
on the
Villanova,
I got
sure.
5 of these I've got to get to, which is going to be difficult. Transfer rule. Coach Patsos and I talked about it in the opening segment. Last year, there was over 800 Division I players that transferred. I don't know if you fix it. How do you address it? Does it need to be addressed?
Like I said, our friend Will Brown at Albany has his starting backcourt say they want to transfer because they want to go to the NCAA. He's a very good coach. They have a nice program. Now they're going to go get their degrees in 3 years because they're very bright. They go to summer school. They bring in a few. The graduate transfers, I hope that they all get 2 years. They should get 2 years scholarship. If you're going to be a graduate transfer, then you have to give up a scholarship for 2 years to them. That's my one thing because they're supposed to get their graduate degree. Second of all, with certain individuals in their life, whether it's parents, uncles, coaches, whatever, they want immediate satisfaction. If you have to sit for a little bit, then if they go 4 for 30 the last 3 games, all of a sudden it's a coach's fault. They want to transfer. But more importantly, I think it's they want to transfer to go play to the NCAA from our level.
Right.
They see March Madness, how important it is, and they want to go.
I think it's a side issue. I mean, it's the same as the one-and-done deal. I mean, it's almost the same. I mean, if you're going to, if not you, but I mean, if the NCAA is going to allow these transfers to be eligible right immediately, again, you're going to keep your roster in such flux that nobody can. Right now, the coaches are in a different season, and the season is manage your roster.
Sure.
They got to manage they have no idea right now what their roster is going to look like come September 1st. And I used to tell my coaches, we got to get our roster straight before we can worry too much about
how
summer camp all
Oh.
that kind of stuff. I mean, there's other stuff going on, but we got to make sure we recruit our own players. We got to stay with them. And I will say, you talk about my son Ryan, this time last year, and Jimmy knows this, there's a kid on his team, best player on his team, a kid named Jarius Lyles. He graduated. Ryan says to me, we're going to lose Jarius Lyles. Maryland, some of these other people after him.
It's a miracle he didn't leave.
I said, why, Ryan? He said, well, he's graduated and you can't hold him. I said, you recruit him. You get your president involved.
Freeman Rabowski, that guy's a great, smart man.
He's smart as he can be, and he's willing. he's willing. Show me what I need to do, and I'll do it. And Ryan went to work on that kid, and I'd be darned if he didn't save him. And it was the best recruiting job that he did all year long, or any.
And it helped the kid.
It helped the kid. The kid is happy now, and he's going to have a job. He'll have a job the rest of his life coming out of there.
And there's another type of transfer that I get a little more of than the biggies. Okay, because you don't leave Wake Forest if you're not playing, because great degree, charter planes, best facility, Joe Coliseum. I get some guys that I think they're like, it's pretty good. Free meals, $65,000. If I transfer and go to another school of this level, I'll get a year to sit out. It's another year of living this life with the shoes. So some of them are like, I just kind of want to stay in this mode. Most kids take 5 years to get a degree anyways. So there's a whole array of things with transfer, but I don't think they should be able to play right away.
I don't either.
All right.
I don't either.
While we're doling out advice, a lot of young coaches here for the NABC and for the Final Four, guys trying to make a name, meet people, shake hands, build relationships. You have to give advice to a young coach or a assistant coach, associate head coach. What are you telling them?
Just what you said. I mean, there's no tried and true method. I mean, to everybody that has, quote, unquote, made it, they've done it in their own way. You got to be yourself. You got to meet as many people as you can. You got to be kind to people, genuine to people. One thing, when I was hiring coaches, a lot of people say, well, I can recruit or I can bring this player. I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to find out, was a coach in love with the game?
Love it.
Did he want to teach the game? Did he want to talk about the game? Did he want to talk about style of play? Did he want to talk about, how the defense is, evolved? And the important thing about rebound, or tempo of play. How often do you use the three-point line? How do you teach footwork, which is so important, and have your feet ready to catch the ball and shoot it and all of this? I wanted to know when I wasn't there, if I had to go out recruiting and I left my team in practice one day, could my coaches carry on what we were doing without me being there? That's what I wanted to know, because that's where it all germinates. It's on the court. This is not rocket science. You still got 5 guys on a court against 5 guys. This game is not played on a computer. It's 5-on-5 with kids playing, usually screwed up by adults. I
know how that is. I had a young team. I should have kept them way more simpler this year. But their focus should have I just didn't do a good enough job this year of what Coach Odom just talked about. But these assistant coaches, Chris Gans last night, I'm with him from New Mexico State. He took a crazy journey. Coach Odom, Virginia, me, sort of Maryland, to another job. Coach Odom talked about he didn't even take an interview. He probably passed on 10 jobs because at Virginia, Ralph Sampson, to wait for a big job. I saw a guy, high school coach, junior college here. Chris Beard at Texas Tech as a friend.
Yeah.
All over the map.
Hops around.
There's no different way, but passion and wanting to coach. Gary Williams would tell you this. He goes, they don't want to coach as much as they used to because they're making too much money. In other words, some assistants are like, they treat it like a regular job. This isn't a regular job. You got to love it. You got to want to be in the gym at night. I know recruiting's the new. Now everybody comes in with who they can recruit. They got their lists and all that. So, right. But it is good. I felt good energy in the convention center, seeing all these young assistants working it. It kind of juiced me up.
Yeah, I'll say this: walking around, there are guys wearing logoed shirts and pullovers. Schools I've never heard of. I mean, we're not just talking like D1, bottom of the barrel. We're talking D2, D3. Right?
There's a ton of great coaches at
there's all kinds of stuff going on.
There's a ton of great coaches at Division II and Division III and all these levels, but it's great to see the kid at Michigan, the Division III player, go, and he leaves, Mike Maker in a great position and goes to John Beilein and shows I can play too. But because he's doing the stuff on the floor Coach Odom's talking about.
Let me tell you something.
Assistants are missing that.
Yeah, we got in this 4-team tournament.
Yeah,
we've got 3 surefire Hall of Fame coaches. Jay Wright, Bill Self, and John Beilein. And you've got one in Porter Moser who is coaching like a Hall of Fame coach.
Right now, for sure.
And hopefully he'll keep moving and he'll get to that level.
People forget he got fired at Illinois State and did a good job.
Yeah.
In other words, he's taking advantage of his second chance.
He really is. And that's a wonderful thing. When we had the Maui tournament, John Beilein with his new Michigan team was out there. They come out of that tournament 2-1, and I remember walking with him off the press podium. I was walking him back to his team, and I said to him, how do you feel about your team? You're 2-1 coming out of the tournament. You got to feel good. He said, I don't know, Dave. He said, I don't know if we're going to be any good or not. I said, let me tell you something. You've got a new team, and they have yet to have a good dose of John Beilein coaching. He called me back, when we did the show, well, you weren't part of that, but the NABC, thing.
Guardians of the Game.
Yeah, Guardians of the Game. And I told him on that thing, I said, well, you were patient with them, and they got their dose of John Beilein, and look where they are. They're in the Final Four.
That guy's record in March
he's
is
terrific.
ridiculous.
There's a guy, I just told him earlier, Coach, he's from upstate New York. High school coach, junior college coach, Division III coach, Division II coach, Canisius, Richmond, West Virginia. Never was an assistant one day in his life.
Never.
These guys out here are too scared. They think it's going to be assistant for 30 years. Like Coach Odom said, go learn footwork, go learn how to coach. His team, I haven't watched them enough. I just watched them dismantle Maryland at Maryland, and I turned it off because they beat them so bad. I would probably put my money on them just because of the road. They're going to be a lot bigger than Loyola.
Yes,
Zach made me pick who it was, and he picked Arizona, just so you know.
All right.
Yeah, I did. I picked Arizona.
He argued with me.
They were
about
disinterested a month ago.
Yes.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you. Yes.
So I had Michigan and Michigan State in the finals.
Wow.
So I was off one bad. I still may get this other one.
That's just for you guys. I brought my bracket so that there's no arguing out there what goes on. I had Nova in Kansas. I had Gonzaga in Virginia. Your Wahoos let me down.
I think
happens.
I think
you had Michigan, huh? Well,
I did.
No, he did. He also had Sparty. I give you one. I give you one rule. You're the czar of college basketball. I give you one rule that you can change on the court. We'll let Coach Patsos handle this one first.
I like we didn't shoot free throws particularly well as a young team. I like the NIT rules. Can I just kind of say that I like the NIT rules? In other words, the 2 free throws, the quarters. I don't know. I'm kind of encompassing that. I like
the quarters is interesting because who else in the world of of basketball, not college basketball, the women have already moved to quarters.
I know.
Europe does quarters.
I just like the 2 free throws.
Why are we still playing 2 halves, though? Why are we still playing 2 halves? What's the deal?
Was that brought up in your NIT thing, by the way? We don't want to jump around, but I like those rules.
Yeah, well,
scoring's up with the quarters. I don't know if I don't know the correlation
there, 1-on-1,
but that helps.
I wish, and there's no way to do this. It's not going to happen. But the only thing that I would change out of the NIT rules would be the 2 mandatory timeouts per quarter. I wish they could make it to 1, or at least one of the quarters would have only 1. It's a lot of stoppage.
Got to sell commercials, Coach. You got to sell.
Well, I understand. I said there's no way to do that because of the commercial deal.
No, you could do 1 every.
If you had in a half, instead of having 2 per quarter, have 2 this quarter and 1 the next, something like that. Eliminate 1 because doing quarters adds a more stoppage. I mean, it takes away from the
flow,
rhythm of the game.
What about moving the 3-point line back? You okay with that? Because
I sit there and watch it in NIT. I don't think it didn't bother them at all. Them guys were firing away.
Guys are shooting more threes statistically. This has been shown. They're shooting more threes than ever in college.
Well, that'll wane back the other way.
It's interesting. Last question. 5 pressing questions. The little guy. All right, we talked to Ryan Odom yesterday. The guy's a celebrity now. I mean, he's walking around the streets. People are stopping him for autographs. But
not going to sneak up on anybody next year.
No, he's not.
I told him that last night.
No, he's not.
I said, wait till I see your old man. I said, now you're going to sneak up on anybody.
I think I know the answer. I think I know your answer, Coach Patsos. But are mid-majors getting enough love when it comes to NCAA tournament selection?
Look, I'm not going to go on like a soapbox that we should have 10 different teams in because I don't think that's right. But I just, Vermont should have been on the bubble. They went 37-2 to let John Beck was outstanding coach.
They should have.
And Middle Tennessee should have got in. And
yep.
I wasn't a huge St. Mary, and I love him. He's a good coach at St. Mary's. He does less with more, but he should have played a better schedule. I get all that. But I just want a couple of them in there. It's just hard being in a conference where if you don't win your tournament, you're not going, and that's what's happening.
You know that, right? I mean,
that's what's happening in our conference.
Yeah. I asked the question in an NIT meeting. I mean, who determines one bid? Who determines that? Who says Sienna's in a league that they only get one bid? Who says that? I can't get anybody to say we said it.
Right.
I don't know.
When I went to the NCAA in 2012 with Loyola, we got Iona in, but they're in a major media market, and they were really good, and they beat Maryland and everybody. It's just a couple more mid-majors would be good, but I guess they already got the play-ins, I want the NIT to expand. So, see, I think it'd be great if our leagues could get 2 NITs and 1 NCAA.
Yeah.
Because the NIT is so important. Like he said, you got to win the first game. You taught me that. I didn't realize that. But you don't understand for a Rider or Iona or Siena or Manhattan, the NIT is a big deal.
It is.
And so if we could get multiple NIT bids, I would take that.
Let me tell you something. I was at NIT the first night, and the crowd that
Tuesday night in New York.
Tuesday night, and the crowd that supported their best of all was the team that was closest, Penn State.
Penn State.
They also have the most financial ability to support it.
Sure.
And it was nice to look up and see James Franklin, the football coach, sitting on the front row with his little Penn State little outfit on, and everybody interviewing him and taking a picture. It was nice to see that. Last night when they played it, they brought in 50 busloads of students.
Yes.
50. Count them, Stephen.
It's a lot. It's a lot of
50.
kids. A lot of kids.
And that was a big deal. Now, in order to bring them in, you got to house them, you got to feed them, you got to.
They probably went back. I think it's 3.5.
They may have
got
gone
the
back
cash out there, by the way. They got 106,000 in football games.
But I mean,
Sure.
it was amazing.
It's interesting.
It really was. It was really good.
You're an on-demand guy. I know I don't get you for the full 2 hours today. I get that. I'm not thrilled about it, but I get it, Coach. I mean, you're shaking hands and kissing babies. I mean, that you are in your element here. I get that. I need your picks for Saturday. I need you to go on the record. Tell me who you got. You did pick Michigan at the beginning when the bracket came out. Are you sticking with the Wolverines?
Well, here's what I'm doing. I think Sister Jean has done all she can do. I will say this: if Loyola beats Michigan, then I may be a convert.
I'm a Catholic. I'm rooting for it. The Jesuits.
The Catholics may have me, and Ryan is a Catholic because he married a Catholic, so he's in. But I think the run for the Ramblers is going to be. I think it's going to stop.
Are they going to give Michigan all they want? I mean, do you?
I think it'll be a game.
Okay.
I do. I have a lot of respect for Porter Moser and their team and the camaraderie and the way they believe and the way they play. But I think Michigan's got they're defensively they're very good. They can score. The Wagner kid is going to be, although the kid from Loyola's a freshman. That big old kid in there. He's a moose.
No, he was in our Final 3 at Siena. This is the problem with that. He decides to stay home. He played on an AAU team. Mike Weinstein does a really good job. But all of a sudden, I saw his footwork in his hands. And then he stays home. We're inches from getting a visit from that kid.
Yeah,
and now all the biggies, his coach said, missed him. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens with him because they all want him.
Yeah.
So you're going Wolverines.
I'm going Wolverines in that
the
first
semifinal
game.
number 1. Talk to me about the nightcap. Villanova and Kansas, pair of 1 seeds hooking up.
I'm going to pick Villanova, and the reason is I think they're more versatile. Kansas plays with speed. They play with 4 out. I think Villanova and Jay Wright, they say to the team they're playing, tell us how you want to play and we'll adjust.
Yes.
They can do it. They can play a power game. They can play 4 out. They can chase you. They can defend. I think they got the best player in college basketball in Jalen Brunson. I love him. He will determine how the game is played. I mean, when he's got the ball in his hands, nobody is going to rush him. Nobody.
Going all chalk on me again, Coach. You're taking a pair of favorites.
I got the Catholics.
Yeah, I think the guy's outstanding. Azubuike, I don't.
He tires easily. I'm not listening. You guys know more about hoops than me, but I'm watching him against Duke, and I'm like,
I don't know that he's
tired already. What, you've been playing 6 minutes?
I don't know that he's. He can't go guard this Spellman kid, and I don't know.
Real quick though on the Duke-Kansas game, maybe the game of the tournament in the Elite Eight. I mean, were you guys blown away with what Coach Self was doing against that Duke zone, or was it?
Now he has great zone plays. I played Self twice in 5 years. Once at Loyola, once at Siena. Whether he back screen lobs or they hit the 3 Jayhawk lob, he doesn't. They don't. they see zone. They don't panic at all. No. They run really good zone offense, and they got it to the high. But they just keep finding ways to win, which I find interesting.
John, our Syracuse guy, Boeheim, he's had so much effect on this tournament without even playing that much, but everybody, now when they zone, everybody looks to the middle of the zone now. It's open in the middle, because everybody has backed that middleman off. He plays underneath the basket.
Yes.
Right underneath the net now. It doesn't come up at all. Now, I don't know if you noticed it. I'm sure you did. Duke changed the way their zone was, and they let Grayson Allen be kind of a floater to take away the middle of that zone, which opened up the outside, which gave the Newman kid
the Newman kid was running they hit the lob once, then Newman runs the baseline.
Yeah.
They got to make a choice. And players always hate getting lobbed on, so they take that away.
Yeah.
This is 2 threes.
Yeah.
So that was all she wrote.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you for the time.
Oh, my pleasure.
Listen,
Always great.
It's great. It's great to have you back. We get back to Winston-Salem. We got a Monday show, we got a Tuesday show, and that's it till August. So
I'll see you on Tuesday.
If you've got the itch over the summer and you want to talk hoops, we'll make it happen.
Who will I get it to? It's getting closer to football. This is a football guy.
What are you, football guy?
It's college sports. I mean, come on. We don't need to play the ratings game. People like football.
It's amazing.
It is.
Ratings game. Tell Lane I said hi. I miss my buddy Lane.
Yeah, he's he and his brother are really close. They talk every day, so that's been good.
Well, thank you for giving us the time, Coach. I know you got the NABC stuff. You got a lot of hands to shake.
I do, but it's been fun being.
You get to shake mine first, though. All right.
It's been
good
fun
to see
being
you,
with you. I'll see you Tuesday.
I'll be
Don't
there.
back out on.
Thanks for my power play. The old Duncan play. Thanks for my power play.
How about this?
Unbelievable. This guy, what a ham. We'll take a
that was
time
one
out.
Of the great moves of all.
Hour number 1 in the
Who
books.
was that against?
Ryder.
Against Ryder, who's Kevin Baggett's a friend of mine, and they won our league the regular season with the NIT this year.
True story, Coach. If I Google your name, that's what comes up first. The air handshake.
There we go. That's my life.
The power of the internet. We'll take a time out. Hour number 2 coming up after this.
People make your business work. Talented people make your business thrive. No one knows how much talent matters more than our presenting sponsor, ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. With just one click, they instantly distribute your job to over 100 job boards. But they don't stop there. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and even invites them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter scouts talent for you. Need a stat to back it up? 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And our listeners can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. That's ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire and the official job site of college sports fans everywhere.
At Champion, we've been outfitting athletes on and off the field since 1919 because we know inside every one of us is the heart of a champion whose hard work and heart inspires others to do the same, to be a champion. Those are the people that dare to dream, dare to reach for greatness, dare to defy the odds. So dare to be a champion. And check out champion.com for authentic athletic wear that works as hard as you do.
Previously on Holding Court with me, Gino Auriemma. John Calipari.
All they had to do was throw it in. So as soon as the kid started running deep, my man stepped in front of him, and they called a foul, offensive foul. Phil lost his mind.
It was the worst call in the history of basketball.
Everywhere.
So now I go to the press conference, and you go. They ask you about it. You go, no, I thought it was a great call. I thought the guy charged it. And I'm going, I can't believe it. I said, there's nobody better than him. Catch all the episodes by searching Holding Court with Gino Auriemma on iTunes. And follow us on Twitter at Gino Podcast.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely, abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Last time on College Sports Now.
A legal analyst, Sports Illustrated. His name is Michael McCann.
What Miller could do with ESPN or Ayton or University of Arizona, they could
pursue a defamation lawsuit, but there are a lot of hurdles to doing that. There are a lot of perils to bringing a case like this, but certainly it's something he could do.
Listen to College Sports Now, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, exclusively on TuneIn, and follow along on Twitter @CSNowTweets. Listen to college basketball, now free, all season long on TuneIn.
Previously on Holding Court with me, Gino Auriemma. Kobe Bryant.
I got hopped on the phone. Dave Cowan was actually the GM at the time, Charlotte. He just told me, he said, we're going to get rid of you. And I'm like, yeah, and I kind of heard that. He's like, yeah, it's cool. We couldn't have used you anyway. I was like, oh, okay. All right.
We don't have any need for some 17-year-old kid who weighs 180 pounds.
Exactly. I'm like, oh, all right.
Catch all the episodes by searching Holding Court with Gino Auriemma on iTunes. And follow us on Twitter @GinoPodcast.
State Farm agents get what's important to you, especially on game day.
CP3! Ready to watch some hoops? Did you bring the red water bottles? Right here. And my Rabbit's Foot keychain. Chris, I'm your State Farm agent. I help protect the things that really matter to you. I'm not a good luck charm.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay. But I think I was sitting in the comfy seat last time.
What?
Get an agent that gets you. State Farm, here to help life go right.
This isn't an invincible Villanova team. They've been beaten. This isn't early 90s Duke and UNLV. This is a good basketball team from a really good conference that I think it's, what are we, a 5-point dog? Fine. I mean, I think it's going to be a great game. And I mean, do we call Villanova a blue blood? I'm starting to.
I think so. I'd say they think that by now. Yeah.
I know there's a mutual respect.
Yeah.
Jay Wright and Bill Self. And, what else can you ask for? This is great.
That was Greg Gurley yesterday on our show. He's the radio analyst on the Jayhawk Radio Network talking about, KU, we're the underdog. We know we're the underdog, but guess what? We were the underdog against Duke. And now look at us, hanging out here in San Antonio. We got Coach Odom's thoughts on the Final Four. We miss you, Coach. Great to see him, by the way. I get to do shows with that guy, and a year ago, he was kind of, I don't want to say he was timid, but he is old school, and we love him for that. But he started to come out of his shell, and it's great because
Dave Odom's one of those guys. Well, he's super smart. I always felt Gary Williams, in other words, would have been a CEO of it. I know Bill Parcells a little bit.
Sure.
Loves hoops. Went to Wichita State. Bill Parcells was part of the original Pizza Hut family. There's 5 Pizza Huts in Wichita State. That's where it starts.
Interesting.
And he could have been, gone and took them national. Dave Odom would be successful no matter what he does. In other words, he would have been the CEO of a company, or he would have owned his own business.
Right.
He has that look,
Yeah.
And he is, when you get to know him, how he's really a bright guy.
No, I love Coach.
Me, it's hoops or bartending. That's it. This is it.
Well, I'd love to get your thoughts on bartending, but given the fact that we've got games coming up tomorrow night, I've got Coach Odom's picks. I want your help breaking these things down.
Sure.
So, Loyola Chicago, Michigan, 6:09 Eastern tip on TBS. Yes, I know it's not on CBS, but it's still Nance and Raft. Just find TBS on the channel guide. Don't complain.
It's one down. It's one channel.
It's not that difficult, folks. Turner Broadcasting. Michigan's the favorite, rightfully so. Loyola Chicago has been an underdog in every game they've played. And the first 3 were nip and tuck, right?
Sure.
4 points combined in the 3 wins. Then they blow out Kansas State. Momentum, karma, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it, Coach. It's all on the Ramblers' side. But this is a Michigan team that is bigger than them, better than them. I mean, that's fair to say, right?
They're bigger, and they have that whole Big Ten thing going, but who are you going to stop from Loyola? Loyola is, I just keep saying it, this is like a really, really, they remind me of the Gonzaga teams. It's not some fluke. In other words, I have 67-64 Loyola over Michigan.
Wow.
67-64, I have them. I talked to Coach Gillen last night. I was with Pete Gillen, who does an article and stuff. I just think they're gonna get, the crowd's gonna be on their side.
Yeah, everyone who's not wearing maize and blue is going to be all in on the Ramblers.
The one thing that's interesting is you have to survive when we played Kansas, we were down 11-2 in the Final Four, and after that we beat them pretty. You got to be careful. They got to hang around.
Like the first 4 minutes.
The first 4 minutes is important. We were very fortunate that didn't catch us at Maryland. Indiana was just a battle of a game. The Duke game in Minneapolis was just, we actually got out on them. But if Loyola comes out and gets it going, that crowd's going to get behind them. But who are you going to stop? They shoot 40% from three-point land. They got a really good sixth man. They got a kind of bunch of seniors. They can go small, which can be going small. Look at the Warriors. You can go small. And the big guy, the big freshman, I love him at Loyola. He's not intimidated. He's just going to play, and he takes up a lot of space. And I got Loyola 67-64.
Okay, well, there you go. Coach Patsos on the record. Here's the thing. I've watched this team because it's hard not to. It's you got Sister Jean, it's highly entertaining. If they come out and hit 11 of their first 12 like they've done in halves in this tournament, you can break it down all you want. Like it's a make or miss game. Like if they're hitting shots, what are you gonna do?
No, yeah. Well, Beeline can adjust, and Beeline. The thing about Beeline is his big shoot threes, and they got that Big Ten experience, and they're not going to be as in awe. Although this is a new group going to the finals, I just have a funny feeling Loyola's better than people think, top to bottom, and I think that's like we had Taj Holden play really well at Maryland.
Yes,
hit a three off the bench. Byron Mouton was a guy that did a lot of hustle plays. Sure, Juan and Steve scored, but Drew Nicholas was a great player for 4 years for us. Ended up hitting a shot that beat NC Wilmington to propel us to the Sweet 16 the following year. We lost in San Antonio right here at Michigan State. Gary's going to be mad. I reminded him of that. You need a full team. And they have a lot of different weapons, Loyola, but I do like their momentum. And sometimes you need a feel-good story, and it can go. But, going back to 63, we practiced at Loyola. They had the track around it. Couldn't shoot from the corners. They had 2 African-American starters. This is prior to Texas Western in 66, which was in Cole Fieldhouse. Loyola's got a lot of little history.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be a team from Chicago that makes a run, and this is them. But the national story thing, I just think it can boost the rest of the crowd, and that could be their advantage.
I mean, how cool – maybe cool is not the right word. As a fan, I think it'd be cool. But, I mean, it would be epic if this team's playing for a national championship on Monday night, right? I mean, let's be honest.
And I know Brad Stevens a little. Great win. They had a great play, hit a 3 to beat the Utah Jazz. I'm watching.
But that was like a 6 seed, right? I mean, Butler was like a 5 or a 6 seed.
Okay, they had Hayward in a guard, but come on. It wasn't just what they did. They did it 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
They took them down to the wire at Duke. They beat Maryland on the way there. I have a little Butler feeling here. In other words, they're going to be really good, too, next year at Loyola Chicago. But they got really good players and a really good coach. Brad Stevens has shown us, hey, we didn't know who Brad Stevens was. We did a little bit.
Right.
But he has proved to be a coaching savant. And my Celtics with my brother with his Celtics team. Chris, show him your Celtics T-shirt.
We got a guy that, yes, there it is. There
Brad Stevens, right?
Sees. Wow, KG, big.
So in other words, Brad Stevens is Porter Moser, like Coach Odom said. There's the 3 Biggie Hall of Fame coaches. We know that, but there goes the next one.
Yeah,
So I can't wait to see.
All right, so Coach Patsos likes the Ramblers, 67-64.
Yes,
that'd be awesome if that hit. By the way, nightcap.
Don't gamble.
Kansas Villanova, 8:49 approximate tip time in the East. Let's just go ahead and round it up to 9. Pair of 1 seeds, Jayhawks. 3 straight Elite Eights. Now they're in the Final Four. Villanova looking to win their second national championship in 3 years. 2 very good teams. Villanova's favored in this one. How do you see it, Coach?
I see Villanova. I just picked numbers to pick 86-80. Kansas they're not going to go away. I mean, and I know they're number 1 seed, but they had a little rough outing early in the Big 12, which is probably the best conference top to bottom this year. But they've found ways to win, and I really like Bill Self, and he's going to score. But at the end of the day, my old director of ops, Ryan Harkin Shark, he was on the bench when Villanova won it with Baker Dunleavy, because it's a lot of support system. Jay Wright does a great job. Nobody probably has more outside obligations in the country than Jay Wright, because Duke and Kansas, they're in their little smaller places. This guy handles stuff like a pro, and he couldn't be a nicer guy. Couldn't be more genuine, Jay Wright. Beautiful human being, clearly a beautiful person. And he takes time with everybody. And so, therefore, it's great when you have a good staff like Ashley Howard and these people around you to deflect. And now he's been here before, so he knows how to deflect some of the attention. But when you get on that court, Jay Wright's a tiger. And no matter how nice the tiger looks, don't pet him.
It'll bite you. Yeah.
So he's got them ready to play. He's got them ready to go, and they're going to adjust. I thought what Coach Odom said is they can play fast, they can play slow, they can play big, they can switch everything, the guards front the post. I see them 86-80 winning, and then I got them beating. Sadly, I have them beating Loyola by a bunch on Monday.
What would it take for Kansas to not just hang around, but to upset Villanova?
Azubuike to say, I'm the man. Really? You don't have one of me, and I'm going to show you that inside power can rule, much like Tim Duncan did. Coach Odom get snake bitten just because Duncan, people triple teamed him. It had nothing to do with Duncan. Some guys missed out. They lost in the Baltimore Arena in the Elite Eight to go to get a national championship. They had good pieces around him, Rusty LaRue, etc. But like Villanova has everybody who's really good. Bridges is going to be a pro. Brunson's going to be a pro. I love how Pascal's taking his role on. Spellman's going to be a pro. I love the two, DiVincenzo and those. They got a lot of real players. You put Tim Duncan on the Villanova team and they wouldn't have lost one game in 4 years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be the difference.
Here's what's interesting, too, about Villanova. And it's simple, but not a lot of college teams do this. They hit free throws, Coach.
They make free. Jay Billis said it last night. First of all, Villanova's not a good shooting team. They're a great passing team. Mm-hmm. So they're all set there. They make the extra pass. But then it shows up how good a shooters are. That's why I thought Michigan State might make the run because of such impressive free throw shooting. Jay's teams, and once again, they can all shoot free throws. Maybe they hack a Shaq Azubuike if they're down a couple. But if he can play, he could be the difference. It's just hard. We were all kind of watching to see if Kansas would fall. Bobby Huggins is a friend of mine, and Chris Beard, Under Armour guy, Texas Tech did great this year. So I kind of watched the Big 12, and I love Kansas, but they've won enough. Come on. But Self found a way.
Yeah.
They just find a way to win.
Yeah, it's interesting. The thing about Azubuike, he didn't exactly flex on those Duke bigs.
They're big, but those Duke bigs are huge. I mean, come on, those guys are going to the pros.
Yes,
they're all out of here.
They're probably both lottery picks. Bagley for sure.
Bagley, we hope the Celtics get Bagley, right? So
we're already in Celtics mode. I love it.
Well, Tatum's done great. That's what I'm saying. You didn't realize how good Tatum was until you saw him without those other. In other words, he flexed his muscles a little.
Yeah, it's funny you say that.
They got real players
in the summer league. You saw Tatum, and you're like, "Ooh, that guy looks like a pro now."
And
you watch Lonzo Ball in the Lakers, and you're like, "I can't."
No.
The guy.
Are you a Lakers guy?
No, I'm not. But it's just when he's running point in college, you're like, oh man, Jason Kidd Jr. And then he gets out into the pros and he starts jacking up 30-footers, and it's tough to watch.
He's had a lot of I don't really speak out. I don't know. I've met his father a couple of times because I was out there recruiting, and I knew the younger brothers. Go? He is what he is, but he's not a phony. I'll tell you that.
Sure.
I just, for most part, if you could leave your kid alone, like it's kind of good he's over with the other kids now.
Yeah.
Just let him go. Let him play. Listen to Luke Walton and just play. But he is a pro. I wanted the Celtics to take him. I wanted the Celtics to take him because I thought, he's great at throwing it ahead and all that, but it would be good to be away from his father. Too much of anything's bad. Too much religion, too much drinking, too much. In other words, excess is one thing.
Too much river walk.
Too much river walk. But leave him alone. Leave him alone. I think Lonzo Ball is going to shit, but I loved him at UCLA.
Yeah.
I had UCLA winning it last year, and they didn't. Loyola is getting a lot of attention. Can they handle it? Michigan's a balanced team. Kansas just wins. I think that, and that my sense of speech is that there's Villanova it's just very balanced. It's genuine balance.
It's easier for them, isn't it?
They don't seem like they care who scores. Yeah. And Jay Wright's is not too much. He's just, I admire how they run their whole program. That's a program. He's built that into a culture program thing, and that's why I think they win.
All right, so there you go. Coach Patsos on the record. Loyola Chicago 67-64, Nova 86-80. Over Kansas. I mean, he did just one better. He didn't just pick winners. He gave you the scores. So there you go. I wrote that down. So I might have to text you late Saturday night after I'm, I don't know. Who knows?
You and Bill Raftery are hanging out?
Who knows where I'll be Saturday night? But it will be San Antonio is buzzing, and I will certainly be buzzing Saturday night regardless of the outcome. Story time with Coach Patsos. We do it here on the show. We call it Fill in the Blank. And we'll do it next here on College Sports Now. Facebook.com/College Sports Now. We are streaming video here until noon Eastern Time. We got another 45 minutes left in the program. Fill in the blank with Coach P coming up next.
Talent matters, and scouting the best players isn't easy. It takes weeks crisscrossing the country, countless hours watching game film, and analyzing thousands of players to find the best matches. But if you're hiring for your business, you don't need to do all that. You just need ZipRecruiter, our presenting sponsor and the smartest way to hire. They do all the legwork for you. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter scouts talent for you. Need a stat to back it up? 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And our listeners can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. That's ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire and the official job site of college sports fans everywhere.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Last time on College Sports Now.
Coach, did you get your UMBC shopping done? I imagine you already had plenty of swag.
I got plenty. One thing I don't need is more swag.
What about your Curry 5? Steph Curry sent some limited release shoes to the team. Did you get your sneaks?
No, I can't do that. I have allegiance elsewhere in that regard.
Listen to College Sports Now, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, exclusively on TuneIn, and follow along on Twitter at CSNowTweets. Listen to college basketball, now free, all season long on TuneIn.
I did not know there was a bobblehead Hall of Fame. I just learned something.
I didn't know that.
For everything.
Yeah, I had no idea until I got excited. I got this call that said, "Coach, you got in the Hall of Fame." I was screaming and hollering. Thought I was great, and I was like, "Which one?" And they said the bobblehead Hall of Fame.
So, coaching one will come. The coaching one will come.
But no, it was. Of course, my son got a kick out of that. He said, awesome. My dad's in the bobblehead Hall of Fame. He gives me a hard time about that.
That was Ron Hunter, head coach at Georgia State yesterday, who has his own bobblehead. Coach Patsos, do you have your own bobblehead?
I do. 2 years ago, I had my own bobblehead. We won 21 games. I got a bobblehead.
Good for you, man. Like, that's when you know you've arrived. Like when
I have not arrived. I'm just happy to be approaching arrival.
When you've got your own bobblehead. We got Coach Patsos, the head coach of Siena, with us until noon Eastern Time, breaking down these games. Facebook.com/collegesportsnow. Check out the web stream if you aren't already. We have fun here. It's called Fill in the Blank, which is basically it's an avenue to story.
Match game.
It's an avenue to story time, is what it is. So we got 5 questions for you, Coach. Since you gave us some winners in the Final Four in that last segment. Coach likes the Ramblers, by the way, so buckle up. Question number 1, Coach. Take us back. You first fell in love with the game of basketball when blank.
Larry Bird arrived in Boston.
Larry Legend.
Larry Bird arrived in Boston. It changed all of a sudden. Parrish, McHale, but going to the Garden was one thing. But Larry Bird, watching him hustle and how he played, and it's funny because Dennis Johnson ended up to be my favorite Celtic ever, and he's more like a coach on the floor. But it all turned when Larry Bird came to Boston, and just there was an energy around because Boston was a Red Sox and a Bruins, but it was that was what. And I ended up knowing Red Auerbach really well. I got very fortunate to know Red Auerbach.
That's cool.
And I'm still a Celtics guy. Go Celtics! But he captured our minds of how to play the game and how hard to play the game. And I remember watching him and Magic play. That was like, I mean, there was the Russian versus the hockey game. USA and the Bird Magic game were like moments. 1978, we stopped to watch the Red Sox lose to Bucky Dent's home run. In other words, those were time where time stood still. And Magic and Bird, and next thing I know, he's playing for the Celtics, and that's what changed me, and that's why I wanted to coach.
Have you had a chance to meet him? You've met him before,
yes,
right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Was that one of those?
He's a quieter guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Red was the best one to meet. Red was more fun. Red talked about life and movies, and we watched Spider-Man 2 weeks before he died with these ribs.
Wow.
Houston's. In other words, he was a very regular. Red stressed balance. Get good players, make sure they get the ball, but everybody know their role, which is tougher. Red Auerbach, I don't speak for him clearly, but would be knowing your role was what he talked about in life. You know, where you sat at the table. I was further away. You know, him and Rob Aides and John Feinstein and all these sat up at the front of the table at these Tuesdays with Tuesday lunches. Players have to know their role. You're the lead. You know, Zach's the boss. He's the producer. Ben's doing the work.
Yeah.
You have to figure out your role, and that's been really tough for this generation. And Red Auerbach, whether it was Bill Russell to Larry Bird to all that, and I thought that was what made coaching fun. Getting guys to not only accept their roles, but to be a star in their role. That's my whole basketball thing.
That's awesome. We could do a show on that, to be honest with you. I'd love to go back into that 80s Garden. I was fortunate enough to go to the Garden one time. My mom went to BU, so
great school.
So yeah, she's a smart lady. It was a hockey game.
That's all they care about there.
The one thing I remember, 2 things I remember. I was young. I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I remember being scared because they scored a goal and people went bananas, and I kicked my popcorn over accidentally. And I remember being
you weren't getting that off the garden floor.
But no, I wasn't. But the other thing was just looking up
to the banners,
just seeing. I mean, it wasn't banners. It was rows of banners. It was just boom, boom, boom. I mean, there was no empty space up there.
No, and those were all
Crazy.
championship banners.
That's what I'm
those
saying.
Were only championship.
Yeah, it's like Kentucky basketball. Like, we're not hanging a Sweet 16 banner. We don't do that here.
No,
it was just crazy.
Yeah, it's funny because BU me and my brother who's over there. Chris used the first event he took me to was BU hockey. Jackie Parker's like the Coach
man.
K.
Terriers.
The Terriers. They win the Bean Pot and all that. But that's why sports are a big part of my life growing up in Boston.
Cool. That's cool. Question number 2, fill in the blank with Coach Pat Sos. You've got Loyola ties. You coached Loyola, Maryland.
Yes.
Okay?
Jesuits.
The Greyhounds.
We're the Greyhounds. They're the Ramblers.
Now, you've got the Loyola connection. So what do you make of this Sister Jean phenomenon? I mean, speak to what's going on with this tiny Catholic school that is front and center.
Yeah,
Saturday
they're pretty.
night.
They have like 6,000 or 7,000 kids, but they have some graduate schools, and they're on Lakeshore Drive. So that's I've actually been surprised they weren't better, but they got better when they went to Missouri Valley. They upped their budget. Make sure you understand, when they went to the Missouri Valley, they increased their resources.
Sure.
And Porter was very good at showing the administration, we can be great, but we have to do a few things besides sister praying.
Right.
Now, we have the Rally Nuns over at Siena. They're great. And we have the Friars. They wear the brown robes. We're connected to St. Bonaventure. St. Bonaventure founded Siena. The religious community has always loved hoops. That's always been their sport. We had a great president at Loyola of Maryland, Father Lanane. See, he was a Holy Cross guy. See, there's always a connection, whether it's BC or Holy Cross or now Gonzaga, Xavier. The Catholics have loved basketball. But her story, Sister Mary Jean, is you just got to love it. I like it because she's not just sitting there. She talks to the players. She gives advice.
She's engaged.
She's very engaged. So it just makes it a little thing. But we root for the Jesuits. We root. We got a new cool pope. St. Francis is a great guy. He's very hip.
He's a hip dude.
He'll watch the championship if Loyola's in it.
We should get him here. I mean, the Pope Mobile needs to cruise down the Riverwalk. Like, put him on a boat. Make that happen. You were a longtime assistant under Maryland. I talked to you earlier in the show. That 02 Maryland team for me. I was a freshman in college. You had Juan Dixon. You had Wilcox. You had Baxter. You had Steve
Great
Blake.
guys.
Just guys. Like, just a fun team. I'm sure there's a lot of Gary Williams stories that aren't radio friendly, but can you give me one that is?
No, Gary was. We're very similar. When you leave the sometimes it's tough in the locker room. Sometimes you say things you wish you could bring back. Sometimes you do things. But being around the team, he was very loving and he was very, very good coach. Clearly, Hall of Famer, but he knew how to handle each different guy, and he was good an hour later. He left it go. But I got a million Gary stories. But the best was when we lost to Louisville. Rick Pitino was coaching them, and this is for those who wonder how you win. We went to Springfield Hall of Fame. We were winning. They had Pope and Walter McCarty, and Joe Smith had left for the draft.
Joe Smith.
He left after 2 years. He went number 1, so we didn't have Joe, but we had already scheduled the game. Scheduling you have to do a couple years ahead, and they beat us in the court. The Springfield Hall of Fame gym had chalkboards. Well, Louisville had brought in these big whiteboards. They had went and bought them at Home Depot, and we thought it was our locker room. They pulled them out. And they had the Charlotte Hornets plane, and we had like a propeller plane. But at the end of the day, so they beat us. Their bus went by us to get to the airport. Because Pitino and him used to have this. They're friends. And they had this little rivalry because he was at BC and Pitino was at BU, and they recruited against each other. Long stories, blah, blah, blah. The plane from the Charlotte Hornets takes off, and we're like in the dust. Tumbleweeds are going. There's dirt all over our team on the runway. He goes, "That's it. We've got it to this." See, Gary Williams never was settled. He said he didn't believe in the ceiling. He wanted to go through the ceiling. We've been to the Sweet 16, but this has to stop, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to get, as good a players as we can get coached, but we have to put some resources into the program because he goes, we got beat on the bus, we got beat on the court, we got beat on the plane, but they beat us on the chalkboard. and all the players are trying to understand what this meant. And as you go through life and business, those players, because we keep in touch with them, Keith Booth coaching, Drew Nicholas or Johnny Rhodes or they understood that you do have to compete that way. It was a great moment because anytime we're in trouble, I used to say, remember the chalkboard. And then that took us 2 years to get back. We went to the NCAA, and then when we broke through and went to 2 more Sweet 16s, we used to have these little jokes about the chalkboard. And it was one of those moments, like I said about Dave Odom or Bill Parcells, Gary Williams was going to be successful at whatever he did. But he loved Maryland because we were the University of Maryland. He wore the uniform.
Yeah.
He wore the uniform there. And what he did to rebuild that. But really good teaching coach, but he was funnier than people thought. You didn't know that unless you were in that. And that's what's good about the sanctity of a locker room, or the loyalty or the trust of understanding what happens in there is special.
Lefty Drizel's going in the College Basketball Hall
deserved.
of Fame. I know you got a good Lefty story.
Well, I got a lot of Lefty stories, but I was with Billy Hahn last night, who played for him, and Jim O'Brien, who's one of his great players. This is when McMillan and Elmore were there. They were his teammates there in town. Lefty Drizel, good basketball coach. What he did at James Madison, clearly, with Steve Hood, gets Georgia State back to the tournament. The year we go to the Final Four, he's there. Greatest marketer. All those people collecting checks now should thank I almost said Sonny Vaccaro. What Sonny did for the shoe business and the AAU programs, Lefty Drizel did for colleges. Everybody forgets George Raveling was his assistant. This guy had vision. Hail to the Chief. How to market the program. Almost said Moses Malone's. UCLA of the East. Bands. He invented Midnight Madness.
Yeah.
He invented Midnight Madness. He said, we're going to get ahead of everybody by giving a little, we're going to run a mile. Don't be fooled by that Southern girl. He's a brilliant man who went to Davidson.
Yeah. Smart guy.
I'm sorry, he went to Duke, coached at Davidson. But Lefty, well-deserved. Greg Manning, my assistant, and his father, he coached Buck Williams and Len Elmore, and Buck Williams and Albert King, and all, could recruit, but he could market, and he marketed the games for all these coaches. He got the first apparel deals, because Wooden was quiet, and Joby Hall was a different guy. Those are the leaders then. Brilliant man. And Dean Smith, with his whole Dean thing. We love Dean. I was able to coach against Dean Smith for 6 years as an assistant, clearly. Gave me great advice. Dean always knew your name. But Lefty, from what's going on today in marketing, there's nobody better, and he deserves the Hall of Fame.
Game. Yeah, that's interesting. The biggest difference, fill in the blank with Coach Patsos, the biggest difference between your time coaching as an assistant and your time now as a head coach.
Oh, that's a big. Let me tell you something. That's a big jump. You're gonna need Evel Knievel. You guys don't know who he is.
I remember Evel Knievel. Yeah, Daredevil, man, with the motorcycles through the canyon.
This is no small jump. This is a huge jump, because all of a sudden your time becomes more precious. I have a great wife, Michelle. Thank God, love her. She's a great coach's wife. There's media demands.
Which means she puts up with a lot. That's code, right?
They know when to stay away from you and when you need a pat on the back, or when just leave me alone.
Right.
But you're doing media. Sienna's a great program. 6,000 people go to the games. They've had great coaches, little storied past. They beat Stanford back in the day. Fran McCaffrey beats Ohio State, and they beat Purdue. But there's media. There's 3 newspapers. There's 4 TVs, there's radio. Now you got to see every booster. Now you got to go golfing more.
Right.
And whether you do it, for us, Saratoga Racetrack, oldest sporting venue in the country, 150 years old. The only place that Secretariat lost. Okay, you have to go to events at places like that. You have to go to Yankee Stadium and do things. You still have to manage the team.
Yeah.
You have to have good coaches on your side, but you got to still prepare. Sometimes I got distracted. I had a young team this year. I didn't think I did a poor job with our young team of keeping them, because I'm all over the place, and keeping them with very much the basics. When you're an assistant, you usually have 2 or 3 my responsibility was to recruit one good player, because I had other assistants.
Sure.
Here's my 5 teams I got to scout. Here's the guy I got to really recruit, which means I recruit 3 guys to get 1. I still help with summer camp. I still help with academics. This is as I moved up the ranks. I started to oversee guys. Nothing like making the full decision.
Yeah.
I could tell Gary, hey, double down on the post. Okay, he didn't. All right, what's for lunch on the, playing back way. When you lose, it's a lot of pressure on you. And with the Twitter and the availability of people to get back at you, you have to have thick skin. I'm heavy on the shoulders that wear the crown. I got no problem with that. But young guys, Gary Williams kept it simple. You got to recruit. You got to coach, meaning basketball, like David I'm talking about. But you got to promote.
Yeah.
20% of what we did, because Georgetown was the big dog in our neighborhood, and Carolina and Duke. The 5 greatest teams in the history of basketball over time are considered UCLA, Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, and Carolina. We had 2 of them in our league, not 1. So he was like, just keep it simple. What are you doing? What's towards recruiting, coaching men on and off the court? But you got to promote the program. We had to sell tickets. We had to build the program base back up. And That's why coaching, as Dave Odom said one thing about is basketball, but it's got to be a committed lifestyle.
Everything you're saying is, again, just kind of a reminder of the fact that we've got a Loyola Chicago team that's here, and it's like they're 2 games away from doing something that is about as improbable as it gets.
They've already done it. They've already done it, but now you have to capitalize on that.
Right.
You have to sell all your. In other words, now's the time not to set back, and I don't mean this weekend. It's all basketball right now. It's all basketball. But this spring, Loyola's got to go out and make sure they sell all their season tickets. See, this is where I think differently. In other words, this is the time you jump on it. We went to the finals at Siena, lost on a last-second shot. Guy had a good look. We just, we didn't make it. You have to then go out. We sold a lot of season tickets this past year.
Right.
Now we're rebuilding the program. I have a lot of young guys. This is Loyola's chance, though, to jump up and be Butler, to jump up and be Gonzaga. Will you be a one-year wonder? And it's not just basketball. It's a mindset. It's a culture. Don't build too big of an arena. Just get those 4,500 seats filled on Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity for them to establish themselves for the next 10 years, not only by winning, but the work that's going to come. And it can't all be Porter. He needs assistant coaches in the administration because it's a great story.
That's fascinating. I think that's a great take. Last question, fill in the blank. Your favorite NCAA tournament moment in, 4 decades of being around college basketball?
Ours or someone else's?
Open-ended. Your favorite memory?
I mean, clearly winning it was, but Drew Nicholas' shot against Wilmington, I mean, that's right up there with the Tyus Edney coast-to-coast and the Valpo play that we use. But I would say, once again, back to my original, it's when Larry Bird played Magic Johnson. It just set the stage for. It's what my memory is. Clearly winning the national title and cutting down the nets in Atlanta, 53,000 people will never be removed from me. But
rest in peace, Georgia Dome.
Yes, Georgia Dome. Rest in peace. I know that was but the Larry Bird Magic thing just changed the game.
So when you close your eyes, you still see Michigan State, Indiana State.
Yeah, on the little black and white TV with my mother Joan, who I miss dearly. She loves sports, like that. But the Leitner shot. That was unbelievable. Those kind of things, the Valpo, the ones that they see. I like buzzer beaters more than upsets.
Sure.
I just think that's what keeps there's a great fan base, but the world is watching these 3 weeks, and those things are carrying. That's why basketball is catching everybody, is passing everybody else. Those buzzer beater moments are just tremendous, and ours was Drew Nicholas. He dribbled down with 1 second. Brad Brown was the coach at Wilmington. He fell on the floor. I had to help him up.
Wow.
I almost felt bad. Not that bad, but I almost felt bad.
That's incredible. That's funny. I remember where I was when that shot went down. Actually.
No way.
I was driving on I-81 in Virginia, Harrisonburg to Charlottesville. We were listening on the radio. I remember that. Nicholas for the win.
Yeah.
Bang. It was a runner, right?
It was a runner right in front. But he used to practice. See, young kids don't know this. They mess around at the end of practice. Take 3 seconds and really dribble down. But
3 seconds is an eternity, man.
It is now, especially. Take down
3 dribbles.
And pull on balance. In other words, why don't guys, and I shoot half-court shots too, but just take 1 or 2 times down at the end of practice and do that, because you never know when you need it.
Buzzer beater at the Alamo Dome this weekend would be pretty sweet. I don't care if it
happens
happens
Saturday.
Well, the way
Loyola's going, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, well, Sister Jean, I mean, she's got media availability right now.
Does she?
She's on the podium because, in fairness, 98 and in a wheelchair, if you've got 100 media members crowding around that's not going to go well. So they gave her 15 minutes in a room.
Fair enough.
She's on the podium. She's taking questions.
And she's bright enough. I mean, she's going to answer those questions.
In fact,
I can't wait.
We're probably, our timeline is probably being flooded with Sister Jean right now. But that's all right. We appreciate you guys listening, watching, Facebook.com/College Sports Now, on TuneIn, on Twitter at CS Now Tweets. We got Jerry Palm from CBS Sports hanging around. We'll get to him here in a little bit. Quick reminder, here on College Sports Now, we are presented each and every day by our friends at ZipRecruiter. It's the smartest way to hire. Talent matters, and if you're looking to hire great talent for your office, you can try ZipRecruiter now for free. You go to ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire and the official job site of college sports fans everywhere. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with more. We got about 25 minutes with Coach Patsos before you got to get on a plane, my man. You're heading back to the East Coast.
Yeah, I got a little Under Armour, and then I got to do some stuff on. Unfortunately, I have to do a radio show in New York City on Saturday, but I do what I'm told, and I have to promote Siena College. But I wish I could go to the practices. See, if I was one of these young people, I'd go to the practices today. Those are fun.
Oh, the
open practice. Yeah, it's Loyola, Michigan, Kansas, and Villanova.
What are you looking for?
They'll do just some basic stuff, but, the shooting drills to see how serious they are at that. They're not going to go at each other or anything like that, but just to pick up a few things. But you can see how the players interact, and then it's a faraway dome. At the practice, you can get very close today.
Yeah.
And we used to give our players the last 10 minutes go around and say hi to the fans. Because you got to remember, it's just a game. I mean, it's a huge game, but let the players go, talk to the fans a lot. That's how we would do it. And we'll talk about how you stay undistracted, et cetera, during the week. But 50 minutes of hard, going pretty real, talking through some stuff. You got to get used to that. They got to do some drills like 3-man weave and go full court because that's a big dome. And I don't care if they have closed practice. It's actually better to have a few people in there because that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
And then the last 10 minutes, Gary Williams was always good. Let him go around and say hi to the fans.
That's cool. That's very cool. We're getting closer to some games, thankfully.
We need games.
It's been a long week. I don't know about you. Opening day for baseball did very little for me. You're a Boston guy, so you're probably
my brother's right. I'm Yankees because I went to school with Brian Cashman.
Well, that's awkward. That's called a house divided is what that's called.
That's okay. Go Cashman, go Yankees.
Incredible. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with more here on College Sports Now.
At Champion, we've been outfitting athletes on and off the field since 1919 because we know inside every one of us is the heart of a champion whose hard work and heart inspires others to do the same, to be a champion. Those are the people that dare to dream, dare to reach for greatness, dare to defy the odds. So dare to be a champion. And check out champion.com for authentic athletic wear that works as hard as you do.
People make your business work. Talented people make your business thrive. No one knows how much talent matters more than our presenting sponsor, ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. With just one click, they instantly distribute your job to over 100 job boards. But they don't stop there. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and even invites them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter scouts talent for you. Need a stat to back it up? 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. And our listeners can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. That's ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire and the official job site of college sports fans everywhere.
Previously on Holding Court with me, Gino Auriemma. Tell the truth, after Shaq's gone, the next two titles, you're like, yeah, man, stick this up. That proves you.
Oh, for sure. Don't sit here and call me just some supportive player that can't win without me. Like, we both know that's not the case.
He went his way and he won, and you stayed and you won. So you both won.
I just won one more.
You just won one more. Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up. I knew that was coming. Catch all the episodes by searching Holding Court with Gino Auriemma on iTunes and follow us on Twitter at Gino Podcast.
From the gridiron to the hardwood, the best in college sports. This is College Sports Now.
All right, we are back. It is Friday. Thank God it is Friday.
Happy Good Friday.
Happy Good Friday.
Don't eat today, eat fish.
Happy Passover for those of us in the Jewish faith. It is. It's the eve of semifinal Saturday is what it is. We're here at the Drury Plaza Hotel Riverwalk, downtown San Antonio. We've been eating well. We've been staying very well hydrated, that I can assure you. But we're on the eve of some actual games. And, Coach, you're on the record. You like Loyola Chicago over Michigan in what would be an upset, 67-64. You like Villanova 86-80 over Kansas. Give our listeners just a glimpse of what you're looking at early in both of those games. You talked about trying to survive the first 4 minutes. You don't want the Ramblers to come out there and just be kind of wide-eyed if they get
it's a different,
off to a rough start.
Those buildings are so big. We played in the Minneapolis was one dome, but the Georgia Dome at the time was much bigger. You got to get used to the background, et cetera. But I just think Loyola's going to show that they're ready to play there, because you don't want to get down on Michigan, because I've seen some teams get down on Michigan and they can just pile it on.
Texas A&M in the Sweet 16. Yeah, that did not go well early.
That did not go well early, and everybody thought after what Texas A&M did to Carolina, that would be a thing. But, and Michigan's got that big blue. We're Big Ten. They're going to come out there. They're going to try and, and while, with all due respect, they didn't have to play Kentucky.
Right.
Loyola. I kind of had wished they played Kentucky just to see what it's like. That's a different level of athlete, 1 through 7. Like I said, it's going to be a little small ball. They don't have a Steph Curry. Custer's really good. I'm going to see how they handle it. I just have a feeling they hang around, and then the crowd's going to go their way, which can be a really big factor in momentum. That being said, you don't know until the first 4 or 8 minutes are played. Beilein might come out. He's so strategically smart. He's such a good coach, X and O-wise especially. John Beilein used to be on the road a lot. When I was on the road, we were recruiting Joakim Noah and Darren Williams and stuff by himself. Like, he's not he's a grinder, and he's going to grind X and O. So you got to, but it's Big Ten versus the Missouri Valley. That's a big jump.
Here's the thing, though. Michigan's is better than Loyola's better, right?
Yes.
I mean, if the Wolverines come out, they hit shots, they do
team.
their thing, it's not going to be much of a game in the second half.
No, not if they can keep making threes. And like I said, I saw Michigan dismantle Maryland in person, and that was just an impressive performance that he had. John Beilein, he's done this before.
How good of a coach is he?
Probably the best coach in the country at what he does well. In other words, Krzyzewski gives him freedom. Bill Self runs transition. Bob Huggins, Press Virginia. You can go over at what Beilein does, and it's kind of in his mind. Nobody really knows as much of, but it's finding out what you do well, Steve, and making you excel at what you do well.
It's interesting, though, because last time we saw Beilein, he had Trey Burke, and they were in the national championship game, and that guy was a next-level NBA talent. He's got pros on this roster, but they're not, the best player on the floor at all times type pros.
No, they are not. They are not lottery picks, according to what I see right now and from what I read. But they're good enough. But to win 13 in a row in that league and to go through that's what I'm saying. He just looks at what he has and decides how he's going to play that year. His son's a really good coach at Lemoyne, Patrick Beilein. He'll be moving up. I hear he's up for some jobs, etc. They have that in their blood, but finding out different ways. At West Virginia, he had a different way to play at Richmond. So Dave Odom said it. You're not the team you're going to be now. You're going to get better and better. We had turned the corner at Siena this year, and then I had my point guard went down. It's tough to make adjustments like that when your point guard goes down and you have a young team. Beilein finds a way in any situation to get his team to play to the highest level. That's the sign.
Speaking of point guards, everybody's going to be focused on the guard matchup with Villanova, Kansas. But
Sure.
You said the story's going to be if Azubuike can assert himself, because if he can, there's nobody on Villanova who can stop him.
No, he's not. Nobody that big. But we also thought that at Arizona, and I kidded you about Arizona. I thought they were going to the Elite Eight too, as well.
Couldn't get past Buffalo.
No, because they couldn't give you got to give Azubuike the ball, and as Coach Odom says, is he in good enough shape? I don't know. But it's Graham versus Brunson, But DiVincenzo, and they got a freshman who's really good in that team too. Don't be surprised by some of these guys that can play on Villanova 1 through 8. That's what I said. He'll go 8 deep. Graham, he just keeps making plays. Can Newman make shots in the corner again? But Azubuike's the one. If he has 25 points and 18 rebounds, that could be the difference.
Yeah, that's not a bad.
And he's leaving I believe he's leaving for the NBA.
He looks the part, doesn't he? I mean, he's a monster. And it's interesting because you think Kansas blue blood program, they're less experienced than Villanova is on this stage.
Yes.
In this game.
Yes.
I don't know. I think Villanova's a 5-point favorite. That seems on paper to be a little much. Although, I mean, they make it the margin of error for that team. Because of the way they shoot free throws, because of the fact that they have 7 guys who can give you 15 a night.
Sure.
It's like, how do you beat that?
And
how do you beat Villanova?
And the air just went out of the balloon. Like, in other words, for Kansas, they were in the Elite Eight. They wanted to finally get to the Final Four.
Sure.
Now, and I don't know which way this goes. Usually that goes, Kansas comes out and lights it up, or they kind of burst their bubble and that's it, and it's Villanova. But I think it's Villanova. Villanova was upset about losing last year.
Yes, they were. But, it's interesting because, the regular season stuff, I can't put a ton of stock in the fact that St. John's beat Villanova in Philly. But that did happen. They've had off nights.
Sure, no,
I don't know if it's going to happen Saturday.
Well, that's why Azubuike, because he's so big, he's probably not going to have an eye. His night's different than their nights. On the other hand, St. John's is a very good team. Chris Mullen beat a lot of teams. They beat Duke this year. They had a couple special players. And if Graham and Newman can get – I just don't know if Graham can have – and I love the kid who's going to go to App State, Ben's school over there, and he decides to go to Kansas, and what a run he's had. But can he have 27 points? I don't think he can put in a Joel Berry-like performance.
He had a quiet night against Duke, though, Devontae did.
I know,
so
but he still runs a team.
Due.
Great leader.
Yeah, maybe he's due to explode. Malik Newman was nails. 13 points, all of them in overtime for KU, single-handedly put Duke away.
Because they need that shooter, but it's going to be great. And then I just think Villanova handles them by about 10 points just in terms of – I just think – Loyola's going to run out, and Villanova's been there before, and that's when Villanova has enough depth to match up to Loyola's depth.
Yeah.
And like I said, the Jordan kid coming off. But unfortunately, I have to run because I want to segue you out. But it's been a real pleasure. You guys are great guys.
Thank you. You're going back east. You're doing your thing. You're meeting with Under Armour. Click clack. I can't get in the way of Kevin Plank now.
That's
I don't
our guy.
want him coming
it's not
after
like
me.
it's not. That's part of our family. So we have family meetings. Everybody does that. Coaches do their things. There's regular meetings with shoe companies to say thank you for all the stuff they do for all the programs.
Listen, the kids love Under Armour, man. I get it.
Hey,
it's
we got
good.
Steph Curry and everything, and then I'm going to do a radio show in New York, and then I got to go back home. And I want to be there Monday night. I like to be at home, and we start
You gonna be
school.
in the man cave? You going to be watching the game in the man
Monday
cave?
Monday we will. I'm actually, a couple of priests. Father Mark, this buddy of mine, likes to watch the game too. And then we start school too. Right now, for the next month, for our programs, it's academics, a little bit of workouts, but it's a lot of recruiting because we are trying to see who falls off the tree or get our recruits to commit. Recruiting's the lifeblood of your program. And
Gotta have it.
Siena's Go Saints. It's a great school. I'm really thanks for having me. I'm lucky to be here.
Jimmy Patsos, the head coach of Siena. Can't thank you enough, man. Have a safe flight,
Thanks.
and we'll talk to you later, my friend.
I'll see you, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we're back after this on College Sports Now.
What if a point guard hit 80% beyond the arc? Or a QB completed 80% of his passes? Well, now when you're hiring, you can play at that level. Because 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. That makes our presenting sponsor, ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. A single click distributes your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards. But they don't stop there. ZipRecruiter's powerful technology learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter scouts talent for you. And you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. That's ZipRecruiter.com/CSN. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire and the official job site of college sports fans everywhere.
State Farm agents get what's important to you, especially on game day.
CP3! Ready to watch some hoops? Did you bring the red water bottles? Right here. And my Rabbit's Foot keychain. Chris, I'm your State Farm agent. I help protect the things that really matter to you. I'm not a good luck charm.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay. But I think I was sitting in the comfy seat last time.
What?
Get an agent that gets you. State Farm, here to help life go right.
Last time on College Sports Now.
You've got some very, very light skin. Be careful.
Thank you, Coach.
Sun can be absolutely torture this early in the spring, so be careful.
Thank you, Coach, for calling me out for being the pasty white guy that I am. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Listen to College Sports Now, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, exclusively on TuneIn, and follow along on Twitter at CSNowTweets. Listen to college basketball, now free, all season long on TuneIn.
Be sure to check us out at CS Now Tweets. That's CS Now Tweets. And follow College Sports Now on Facebook.
We are back here in the lobby of the Drury Plaza Hotel Riverwalk. Jimmy Patsos has a flight to catch. That was awesome. This is not a head coach of a basketball program. That's Zach Waldman. That's our producer. You guys know Zach. He's buttoned all the way up today. What happened?
Well, I'm on the show now, so, I got to be a little
You
professional.
cleaned it up a little bit?
Yeah.
So here's what we got going on. We are not done for the week just because it's Friday. All right. Normally we're a Monday through Friday program. Not this week. We are doing a Final Four preview show tomorrow. That's Saturday for those of you. And what are the details on that? All I know is, Zach, we're going to be outside.
Yeah, we're going to be hugging the actual Riverwalk, which is basically the main tourist attraction of San Antonio, so we wanted to showcase that in the background on the show. So Blevins is going to work his magic tomorrow, and we will be right on the Riverwalk, still here in the Drury Plaza Hotel.
But outdoors.
But outside.
Okay.
Catching fresh air, taking the sights and sounds of San Antonio. Nicole Auerbach will be back with us.
Okay.
And the show, special Saturday programming, we're going to move the time slot. Instead of the usual 10 to noon Eastern time, we're going to go 1 to 3 Eastern.
Wow.
That translates to noon to 2
Okay.
local here, Central Time. That's been really messing with my head. Just
the time
side
zones
note.
thing?
Yeah.
Wow, you and
paranoia.
You and Geno Smith have that in common, huh? You have a hard time with time zones.
Nicely done.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, very good.
Shout out to West Virginia. Love you guys.
I'm finally going to post the Twitter poll, which I never got to. that's actually going to make it on the account on CS Now Tweets.
Okay, we do have a Twitter poll.
Yeah.
It is presented by Champion.
Yes, it is. One of our great partners.
One of our great friends at Champion. They've been outfitting athletes on and off the field since 1919 because we know inside every one of us is the heart of a champion whose hard work and heart inspires others to do the same, to be a champion. You are the gatekeeper for all things social media. What is our Friday Twitter poll?
Wow, it's an honor and a privilege. So today's Twitter poll, best player in the Final Four. 4 options per usual Twitter poll. Option A, Jalen Brunson, Villanova. Option B, Devontae Graham, Kansas. Option C, Mo Wagner, Michigan. Option D, Sister Jean.
Yeah, there.
See what we did there?
Yeah, and there it is.
Pander.
So it's going to be awkward when we have to recap that Twitter poll on Saturday, and a 98-year-old team chaplain is voted the best player of the tournament.
I think the big question right now is, will any of the other three, Brunson, Graham, or Wagner, actually get a single vote? I'm hoping not. I'm rooting for Sister Jean to get the unanimous 100%, which almost never happens on Twitter polls.
She is at the podium today. If we get any sound, we will get sound from that, and we'll most likely have to play some of it tomorrow because it'll be gold.
Have you at all been distracted by the ATM that is right next to us? This guy's about to cash out right now.
No, I'm not a fan. No, it's a hotel.
You're locked in. Yeah.
It's a hotel lobby. There should be an ATM. You need cash. You should tip your servers. You should tip your. What are the folks called that bring the luggage up? The bellhops.
Speaking of tips, I got to tell the story. I know that it happened off air, but it's too good. So, Coach just left us. He's catching a flight.
Coach Patsos, Jimmy Patsos,
yes.
The head coach of Siena.
The man, the myth, the legend. As he was leaving, he literally just threw a $20 bill at us and said, "Guys, first round's on me."
Because here's the thing. He said, "I want to be here for it, and I'm mad at myself that I can't be."
Which now I'm ticked because that meant, was he going to go out drinking with us on the Riverwalk?
Obviously.
God, that would have been great.
Obviously.
That would have been so great.
Here's the thing about Coach Patsos. I didn't bring this up on, when he was here. Well, I kind of did. He's the air handshake guy. In fact, Coach Odom, when he left, did the air handshake right here in front of the cameras, which means that Waldman's not going to jiff it. But
yeah,
you Google Jimmy Patsos, Siena head coach. The first thing that comes up, YouTube video of the air handshake against Ryder. You know what that is? That's called winning. That's what that is.
Yeah, I couldn't get a read on him if he's kind of over that moment, if he wants to be known for something else.
Well, I'm sure he'd love to be, Porter Moser and be, take an 11 seed to a Final Four. By the way, we've been walking around the Riverwalk a lot. It's easy to do. A lot of Kansas fans here. Haven't seen a ton of Michigan fans. Haven't seen a ton of Villanova fans. Now, it's Friday. They could all be flying in today. You bought a Loyola scarf and promptly left it in the hotel room today.
I forgot.
Congratulations.
We'll bring that for the set tomorrow outside.
So you'll be Gryffindor tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
What a great scarf. Loyola's a great story. Can't get enough of it. Although I haven't really seen Rambler fans.
Well, I mean, we're all Ramblers Saturday night. Let's not kid ourselves. Outside of the Michigan, because here's the deal. Villanova and Kansas fans would rather play Loyola for a potential national championship on Monday night than Michigan. It's not an insult. It's just it is what it is. That's the reality of the situation. So everybody in that arena who is not wearing maize and blue is all in on the Ramblers. I'm all in on the Ramblers. Okay. I want to see it.
I thought we had a good discussion earlier in the week about which does the better TV ratings for a national championship game. Would it be the Cinderella, Sister Jean, underdog versus take your pick. It doesn't really matter.
You booked the guests on the show. Why don't you go find Jim Nantz and ask him? Why don't you go get Sean McManus from CBS Sports?
That would be
Shoot
good.
him a text.
Yeah.
Slide in his DMs.
Assuming I had his number.
I hear the sandstorm in the background. Our studio producer, Michael Serber, who is not here with us, but Serber, I got you a sweet T-shirt, my man. Don't worry, I'm bringing you home some goods. It's a Friday tradition on the show. We are not South Carolina fans, but we do roll into the weekend in style with some sandstorm. So I'm glad that he's got that rolling.
Tradition is tradition.
So Zach, 10 to noon tomorrow.
No.
Local time, 1 to 3 Eastern. We're doing our show.
No, that's not even close to correct. 10 to noon is today.
I said 12 to 2.
12 to 2 would be correct.
Sorry, 12 to 2 local, 1 to 3 Eastern.
Nailed it.
Okay. Well, it's been a long show, so that's all right.
Has it, though?
Those are bright lights. You guys can't see the lights. They're very bright.
I feel like this show flew by, especially the portion in the first hour where you had Jimmy Patsos and Dave Odom just going head-to-head, mano-y-mano, throwing verbal haymakers in front of you.
How about Coach? It was great to see him, by the way.
The breakfast, right?
He brought a plate of breakfast, not like a muffin. Eggs, potatoes, meats. I mean, I love you, Coach, but I mean, come on now.
I love him unconditionally.
I know. I can't bang on the guy.
And the fact that he and we talked about this at the end of the last show yesterday.
Love him.
The fact that he left us in the prime 2 weeks of the college basketball season to do God knows what, be on the NIT committee, give speeches in New Orleans and Durham.
Book a Maui Invitational Field for 2019.
Maui, who's ever heard of that? I still love him. And the fact that he brings breakfast on the table and slams some scrambled eggs and bacon and sausage. I don't know. I think he had it on a breaded toast. The guy's an interesting eater. That's another conversation entirely. It was awesome.
While breaking down games, like while talking X's and O's with Coach Patsos.
And I posted the picture on our Twitter account at CSNowTweets, as well on College Sports Now IG, our IG account. Coach was schooling Coach Patsos on the art of the low post pass. Jimmy had a couple questions for Coach Odom, so before the show even started, those two were diagramming little plays on a napkin.
Literally. Coach Patsos wanted to know the play that Odom ran for Duncan. And like that's literally, now we're drawing X's and O's. We've got the lane and the key. It is incredible. College Sports Now IG on Instagram, at CSNowTweets on Twitter. If you want to see what Tim Duncan was working with in college, that's a visual representation of it.
But I would just caution Coach Patsos, like, Dave Odom's awesome and an all-time coach, 400-plus wins.
Yeah. Friend of the program.
Yeah, at multiple schools. He had Tim Duncan. I don't know that Siena is pulling in
arguably the greatest power forward in NBA history.
Correct.
That's so
safe
to say.
Temper those expectations, Coach Patsos. I love you. Thank you for the 20. Thank you for the 20.
It was a 50, by the way. We got to go to break here. We got to get out of here. Zach, anything you want to say to your adoring fans? They're out there.
Facebook.com/College Sports Now. CSNowTweets. College Sports Now IG. We're on all the big three.
Shooters never stop shooting. Thanks to Ben Blevins behind the scenes. He's been phenomenal. He's got one more show with us, and then we got to get on out of here. Thanks to Michael Serber back in studio, Jimmy Patsos, Dave Odom, A-plus show. It's Friday. We're going to go have lunch. We'll talk to you on Saturday, everybody. Live from San Antonio, it's College Sports Now. So long.